we will now move on to the next one. It's always going to be the way, isn't it, when we have to do it via technology? There's always going to be little things, but that's okay. We can cope with that. I'll just go back one. So congratulations for being here and taking that step to actually do something for your studio. Like it's a big ask, because it's really hard for us to make that change from running the studio and being in the studio to actually working on it. So congratulations for taking that step. I appreciate you taking the time out for yourselves to improve your business and to be here with me. So we just went backwards instead of forwards. You'll realize my clicker and me don't have the best relationship sometimes. We're all good. All right, so firstly, who am I? Why am I here? Why should you listen to anything that I have to say? It's a fair question. So I founded dance training organization, DTO as we call it. And it was after running a studio for 33 years, I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. So I have founded the DTO, and we assist in various ways. There's a little list of how we assist there, but today obviously we're talking about our business programs. I commenced being as a professional dancer and working in Australia and around the world. And that photo there is when I was in the circus, which is when I actually decided that I couldn't stand being in the circus and was happy to do anything except that. So moved into teaching. My sister-in-law said, do you want to teach? So I moved into teaching. And the same year she quit, and I ended up opening a studio. It was just random. I'd never wanted to teach, but that's what happened. With my tape deck, that's on my picture of my tape decks there, carrying between, the community halls, all the different scout halls and stuff. That photo at the bottom there, the green one, is my second year's 25 kids. That's all I had. But we built it up to a studio with, over 500. It was a 7,000 square meter factory. We were full-time, part-time. We had it all. The photo of the girls dancing at Crown Casino. We choreographed shows for lots of different venues around Melbourne and Australia. Worked with Hugh Jackman in the photo at the bottom, Eric Banner, people like that. And at the top there, I've got a photo of Sheridan. We had dozens and dozens of professionals who are still in the industry making an impact today, as performers, as teachers, as studio owners. And I currently am still working as I still train accredited training. I'm an adjudicator, an assessor, an examiner. So I'm still heavily involved in the industry. And yeah, this is my passion now, is teaching this sort of work. So yeah, that's enough about me. Okay, quick. Now I'm going to be quick. I'm going to, as you've noticed, deliver as quick as I can. It seems like I've got a fair bit of time, but I've actually got so much to get through that I'm going to keep going. So I hope everyone's okay with that. If you miss it, don't worry, we can send you some links and stuff like that. You're always welcome to shoot me off an email, but let's get started on you guys. One thing to remember is compound interest. Now, this is really important to us as studio owners. This is from Albert Einstein. His quote, I consider compound interest to be the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Basically, compound interest works on the idea that little steps building on top of each other is what makes the whole bigger and amazing. And that's exactly, for us as studio owners, what we need to remember. I'm going to give you loads of information today, like stacks and stacks, really fast, like I'm doing now. Take lots of notes, but don't get stressed about it. Don't start thinking it's too much. Yes, we do offer a program where we can help you, but you can implement these things as well. So just write them down and take one step at a time. Compound interest, and just build on each little step, okay? So just take the notes for the time being and don't stress. Okay, so when you're thinking about your studio, you're either green and growing or ripe and rotting. It's a common saying, we've heard it before. You've got to remember that, because you've got to keep moving forward. You've got to keep growing. You can't stay where you are. I think that's where I was at. I sort of stayed where I was for a long time, and I started feeling like I was rotting in the studio and it wasn't for me anymore. If you want to get out because you are feeling that way, well, that's one option. But otherwise, you need to keep moving yourself into that green and growing area and just focusing on what you can do to improve. You can't just stay where you are. You've got to keep improving. And everybody should have a coach. Yeah, whether it's free coaching like this is coaching right now. You can write all these down. You're getting someone to help you move in the right direction. Or whether it's, a paid coach. We expect our students to have a coach. We don't expect them to learn how to dance off YouTube. and in fact, really unhappy when they learn off YouTube sometimes or Instagram. So yeah, so it's the same for you. If you want to move faster, get a coach, or at least find coaching for yourself through, YouTube and Google things, and work towards goals. All right. So make sure that you are working on the business, not just on the studio as you have been, or in the studio as you have been potentially. So the list of topics today, let's keep it moving. We have mindset, we have marketing makeover, sales shuffle, syncopated systems, turning to technology, leadership leap, tapping into team, website waltz, social media mumbo, and financial funk. Okay, see what I did there? Like I tried to make it all dancey. I don't know, it's dorky, or it's okay, but anyway, it's a little bit funny. So that's how I've tried to relate it back to us, to make sure you know that the training isn't going to be boring business training. It's going to be relative to us as studio owners. And don't forget, if you've downloaded your workbook, then you can obviously grab your pen and write straight into the workbook. If you didn't, just make sure you have some paper or another computer screen open, or whatever you need, but you will need to write stuff down. There is absolutely no way that you're going to remember what I talk about now and what I talk about this afternoon. I'm going to go fast. So please make sure you write it down. Somebody at the Melbourne event last week or 2 weeks ago said she got halfway through and just went, it's too much, and stopped writing. Remember, compound interest. Don't stop writing. Keep writing, okay? Because there might be something later on when you go back to look at it that's just perfect for you to grow your perfect studio, because we all have a different idea of what's perfect. And so write all those notes, and then you can see what applies best to you. Okay, mindset. Ready? First one. Let's go. See how fast we can do this so that we can get it all done for you. So you have to believe in yourself as the professional, the dance professional you are, as well as the CEO. Now, I chose the word CEO. I know that some studio owners are going, not really gelling with CEO. You can use whatever word you want. It can be, manager, director. I use CEO because I thought it was massive and really big. And I thought, well, I need to aim high. And for me, CEO was kind of that out there word. So whatever word works for you, use that. I'm going to use CEO because that makes it feel massive to me. And that's where I wanted to achieve. Okie dokie. So believing in yourself as the business owner and the CEO. So you may have come to owning a studio in a different way to other businesses. I work in I'm always working with business owners from all different businesses, not just dance studios. They could be, very broad range. Most of those business owners will say that they have a business because they wanted to own a business. So they wanted to own a business. They found they found a niche, something they were good at, whatever, and they opened their business. I feel like a majority of us have come the other way. We were passionate about dancing. We happened to be great dance teachers. And all of a sudden, we're running a dance studio or a performing arts school, or whatever you would like to call it. But it's not probably where we started. We didn't start thinking that way. We started thinking about the passion of our art. So we have a different mindset to a lot of other businesses. And so we're already on the back foot when it comes to pushing the business side of things forward, because we didn't start there. So this is why we need to now catch up. It's a catch up, yeah? But no matter what, the buck stops with you. It's your studio, it's your business, you own it. So you have to do the heavy lifting, especially at the start, to set it up, to get it right, and then you can delegate away. But you need to make sure that you have those business goals and plans in place. The only way that's going to happen is stepping out of that comfort zone. So let's face it, it's easy to stay where you are. You're in your comfort zone. We all know that we're great teachers, otherwise we wouldn't be here. So we can just stay there and just deal with but you can't grow there. That's not getting out of your comfort zone. Being uncomfortable is the only way you're going to grow. So you have to step out of your comfort zone to level up. There's me using a techie term there from my kids' games. We need to level up. If you want to improve, you want to get more time, you want to have more money, more students, you want to get out of the business and go and take holidays. You've got to get out of your comfort zone, set those systems and processes in place to do that. Okay, so remember, you have to feel uncomfortable. All right, so take some time as a CEO. You've all heard this. You've all heard you need to work on your business, not in your business. Probably all know what it means. Okay, so we can't be always teaching the classes and expect them to be growing. Okay, so take some time for your CEO time. So making sure when you're working on the business, not in the business, that you are actually taking that time to show that the business can improve rather than just working on the class you're in. There's no mistakes. You're going to make mistakes with or without a coach. Everybody makes mistakes. So remember, there's actually no mistakes. They're just lessons. So there's either wins or there's lessons. So take that with you. All righty? Okay. So I just need my clicker to move over to this screen so we can click on this one. Okie dokie. So the more you earn, the more you learn is a common saying, and it's totally true, because obviously the more you learn, you can add things to your studio to make them improved. You can grow. So everybody knows that that's true. We just need to learn. You don't know what you don't know. So put it out there. Make sure you're always looking for new things to learn, and you'll be able to improve quickly. I say, okay, so getting rid of our old mind blocks. I'm going to give you guys permission to, one, make money and not feel guilty about it. You're an expert in your field. Some of you started training at maybe 3 years old, something like that. There's not many other jobs where people have actually had the experience in the industry that we've had moving into working and running the business. So I give you permission to earn lots of money and not feel guilty about it. Don't stress about parental or student judgment. They make money in their job. It doesn't matter. I've heard that saying before. Oh, yes, but, I paid for your car. Well, come on. It's a job. You get paid for what you do. Make sure you are taking your wage every week and getting paid well for what you do. Put your family first, because you know what? Other people in the studio are putting their family first. So remember to put your family first. It's easy to get caught up in the I need to be there all the time because the concert's coming up and not seeing your kids for dinner. But you know what? Other people will just as easily leave you when it suits them. So don't get caught up in the emotion of putting other people's families first. And you know what? Have a time when you turn your brain off. It might be I walk in the door and put my keys down. That's turning my brain off working at the studio and turning my brain onto family time. It might be a different trigger for you, but whatever that trigger is, give yourself that time to be present with your family and not stress about studio life, because it can get out of hand. Do you have a plan? 100% need a plan. Okay, so we all need a plan for everything in life. Do you have a studio plan? What's your why or your purpose? If you know your why, you'll find your way. It's quite a common saying. So what is your why? What's your purpose? What is it that you want your business to achieve? You need to find this out. This is going to help you with everything moving forward. You need to know what your business is for, why you have your business, what you want it to achieve. Definitely start thinking about that. So first thing you need to do, come up with a vision or a BHAG, which is a big, hairy, audacious goal. These will be where you see your studio. I'll go over these a little bit later. But where you see a studio in 2 to 5 years, something you can envision. The mission is, how are you going to do that? And obviously your studio values, which 5 to 7 of those would be great. And that's the way you're going to do it. So something I want to talk about before we finish this section is imposter syndrome. I find it really, really important that I talk about this. Dancers, we tend to, when we're growing up, compare ourselves, be really competitive with ourselves and other people at times. We're always looking in the mirror and judging. We're always, judging how high our leg is. Is it good enough? Should it be higher? We're doing, exams or competitions. There's so many ways we judge ourselves that we're always on top of that. So sometimes when it comes to imposter syndrome, which everybody in the world suffers from, but when it comes to imposter syndrome, sometimes we can suffer more because who am I? Am I good enough? It's a question we ask ourselves all the time. So am I good enough? I won't give my opinion. I won't go and do that change to my studio because nobody else has done it. And maybe I'm wrong. You know what? Do it. You guys have got where you've gotten to. Just do it. Okay. Don't worry about imposter syndrome. It affects everyone. As I said before, get out of your comfort zone and move through it. Yeah, because it's going to happen. There's no option. It's going to happen. And it's proved that everybody in the world does suffer at some point, some worse than others, but it's something you really need to think about and push through. So the action plan for movement mindset is to take some CEO time just for you, away from the studio and away from the day-to-day activities of the studio and the invoicing and the accounts and the costumes, and start thinking about the overall picture and how you're going to make improvements. You're going to get those improvements from your why. Why do you want to do these things? Your vision, where are you going with that? Your mission, how and which way do you want to go there? So maybe I would suggest get out your 90-day plan, and 90-day plans are great. That's every quarter you're writing your plan. Give yourself 5 tasks, right? 5 tasks that you're going to work on that relates to your why, your vision, your mission, and your values. 5 tasks each quarter, that's it. Don't go overboard. 3 might be okay. You might not even make it through those, but don't go overboard. 5 things is max, alrighty? Okay, so that is the end of movement mindset. How are you all feeling? I'm a bit stressed with that break in there, kind of lost momentum for a bit, but hopefully we'll be all good now. Just technology, I tell you. So is everyone feeling good? Yes, hope so. If you're not, is anyone typing? Everyone's good, alrighty. We've got a couple of people I think we've got 5 staff checking on what you're saying, so feel free to type as much as you want and keep them busy. Okay, so if you want to say 5 to 10 years, get on to implementing all these things. We certainly can help you with a program we can talk about later on, but otherwise you can do this as well, all righty? Okay, next one, marketing makeover. I have broken this into attraction and retention because I do believe that they are both super duper important. Let's face it, that's where we're going to get our numbers from and our income from. So firstly, just to break up marketing. So your marketing is anything that people do at all to promote the studio. So that can be paid, it can be unpaid. So marketing covers everything that you're going to be doing to bring people into the studio, get your name out there. That's all marketing. When we say advertising, we're only talking about the paid portion of that. So anything you do that is paid is the advertising side. And then sales is different again. So sales is when you can lead the horse to water with your marketing, your advertising, but getting the horse to drink, that's your sales. So the sales is that conversion. The word conversion, we do meta advertising. We get 350 link clicks, but we only convert 2 people. That's your conversion. That's your sales part, how you got them to actually join the studio. So that's the end portion there. So I've split sales into a separate area. Okay, so attraction. Got to know what your goals are. You can't say to me that you want just more students. That's not enough of that. You need to say, I currently have 120 students. By this date, I want 150 students, and I want them in my preschool classes, or I want them in my elite comp team, or I want more in my exam ballet. Okay, because it's going to be different marketing depending on what your goal is. So make sure the goals are clear for you and your team and whoever's doing your marketing if you're not doing it yourself. So your target market is going to be, we probably heard the saying, if you market to everyone, you end up marketing to no one, okay? So that's like, okay, we're going to advertise. Is there any point us advertising our hip-hop class to the guy down the pub having a beer? Probably not going to come join our hip-hop class. Okay, but there's also no point advertising our hip-hop class to the preschool kids. We want in our preschool market. So with the target market, you will have an overall target market for your whole studio, but you will then have sub-markets depending on each of the programs that you're delivering in your studio. You need to think about your avatar. So it's really important to think about who your avatar is. If you already have an ideal family in the studio, that does help a little bit with your avatar because obviously you can use them as a springboard. What do they look like? What's their family situation? What's their income? Where do they live? Who do they hang out with? Where are they? Now, I know some of that sounds like, well, what does it matter, where they live or how much money they make? But it does, because each studio has a different avatar. We had a studio that was only 5 minutes down the road from us. Our studio, we had done the research and tended to have a lot of working families with 2 parents working, or that, you know, one parent was a stay-home mum, but they had, or dad, but they would tended to be private school people, for example, Catholic schools, all those sort of, and then we had a studio down the road who wanted to combine with us. We didn't know what their audience was like, but it was only 5 minutes down the road, but it was a lower socioeconomic area. And these people joined ours and it was terrible. They were just totally different avatars. They didn't get along. It was horrible. We had to, while they were there, we had to try and split nights so they didn't mix because there was complaints nonstop. So it did matter that they were only 5 minutes down the road because they were a different type of avatar that they were aiming for. And obviously it all failed and they left because we didn't do enough research into the avatars in the first place. So it is really important to make sure you do know your avatar like the back of your hand, everything about them. One of my main avatar, my overall avatar's name was Letitia. She was really cool, had great fun parties, used to wear those high heel Nike runners. She was great. What does your avatar want? Okay, so is there a free lead magnet or a cheap lead magnet you can develop that you can offer them? I would think most of us would be a free class at some point. We did also like a free week of open classes and would enroll them from those open classes rather than moving them sometimes into the regular classes. It can be done in all different ways. Some people do like you don't pay for that class, but it's added to you. Like, it's up to you how you set it up, but what is it that your avatar wants and what can you give them that is easy and relatively cheap or free? Okay. I will talk about that a little bit later too. So what's your brand strategy? That's something for marketing that's super duper important. It's not just your logo. You need to look at upgrading that and refreshing that if you haven't for a while. It's not just the colors, even though colors do have meaning and you probably should know what your colors mean and how you're working those colors, but it's also your culture. It's the culture within your studio. So your brand creates that, well, not creates, it's part of that culture. It's what you want other people to say about your studio when you're not there. Yeah. Do you want people to say, oh, that studio is so nice. Those people are so nice. I love going there. Or do you want people to go, oh, I walked in, no one spoke to me, blah, blah, blah. You know, you're going to create that culture because if you don't create it, it's going to happen anyway. Culture will happen whether you create it or not. So you need to be on top of that and you need to make sure that culture is how you want it to be. And that's coming from your branding. That's coming from all of it. Yeah, the branding right across the board. Okay, so you need to think about your branding strategy. This is an example, like I've used Disney here because, well, everybody knows Disney. Like everybody smiles when you say Disney. It's the happiest place on earth. We all know this. They go to great lengths to make sure, like they have street poles that are aging down, you know, down the block because they don't want to put a new street pole mixed in with the old street poles because it would stand out and that wouldn't, your journey wouldn't be as good. Yes, so your customer journey is so important to them. The branding, it's all about the branding. You know, it's not about their logo. I've seen the Disney logo, white, black, multicolored. It's not about the logo. It's about the brand. We all know the brand. It's fantastic and so much time put into it. Another opposite brand. These guys are playing at the grand final in Melbourne. I think that's next week. Think about this brand. These guys in the 70s, 80s, 90s, I think, probably even, oh, I can't remember when they unmasked, but while they're unmasked especially, they were like considered, you know, too much for young kids. There was, you know, rock and roll. It was, you know, womanizing, drinking, drugs. That was the concept. Like, this is a full-on rock band. They're so scary. They weren't. We don't know that now. They were, you know, lovely Jewish boys who have beautiful families and make loads and loads of money, you know. So you've got to remember that was all branding. That's not them. That's a brand. And look how well it did. Amazing. So think about your branding. Be clear on your culture and your values. So obviously the culture is everything and the values are going to help you make sure that culture is strong throughout the whole studio. So having your values, I would get your whole team involved in creating those, even asking, you know, families, so that you can then have those 5 to 7 words that represent your studio that can be used everywhere. Make sure the kids know them too. It's great for the kids to be part of it. Even the little ones, they love it. You will have to do a SWOT, so a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. Obviously, strengths and weaknesses are things within your studio, what you have, what you're strong at and what you're weak at. You can find those easily. Threats and opportunities are coming from external things you can't control. So they would be opportunities that come from other companies or threats that come from other companies, for example, other studios. And you can't control those. You have to just work out what you can do to deal with those. You have to do a competitor analysis. Now, a lot of studio owners are very stressed about this one because they don't want to feel like they're, you know, spying and copying and whatever the feeling may be there. I know a studio owner that got one of her staff to do it and then just present the results without the names, which is she still knew what was going on. But you can't benchmark yourself, find out where you're sitting, find out what you're good at or not good at or what needs improving without doing that. They don't have to all be within your local area. It could be someone you aspire to, but you have to do a competitive analysis so you know what's going on in your industry or our industry. It also will help you find your USP, which is your unique selling proposition. So you've got what the customer wants, you've got what your competitor does well, and you've got what you do well. There's going to be crossovers in the middle, and you can probably improve that. There's going to be in areas where it's just you're the best in that area. That helps you find a way to promote the school sometimes, or other times you look at it and go, I need to make that bigger. I need to work more on those things. And that's great, because we're not saying in any way copy anyone else, because you can't lead if you're following. People aren't going to follow you if you're copying, all right? And it might work for 5 seconds, but there's no point copying anyone else. You have to be you, and you have to be your brand, and you have to be your studio to make it work, which you probably already are. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been in business for, you know, a while. But really think about finding your unique selling proposition. This one, you know, we see this at school, SMART goals. You're talking about specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. It's still a relative term that we would use now in developing our goals for the studio. And it just gives you a way of tracking them as well. All right, what gets tracked improves. If you don't track it, who knows if you made it, you know. So you really do need to create SMART goals when it comes to your marketing. This is what I want to achieve. This is how specific it is. We talked about it before. You know, I want 20 kids in my under 15 tap class. I don't know, tap 20 would be a lot, I know, but for example, and how do you measure that? Well, I have 15 now, I need 5 more. Is it achievable? Yes, it's achievable. Within what time? It's relevant to the studio and within what time frame. So, you know, developing those SMART goals for each of your goals is definitely worthwhile. And the customer journey, make it smooth. Be each of your avatars, be your preschool avatar, mum, dad, whoever, parental person, and do the journey. Do from start to finish. Was it smooth? You know, we know that Disney does that. We know that their journey is so smooth. Everything goes perfectly well. And if it doesn't, they take it on the chin and they go, we apologize. Let's fix it. You know, let's give you something. Remember, it's not personal. This is your customer's journey. You are going to get your customer to come along from each of the avatars and a nice smooth ride, so that they don't need to look anywhere else, because why would they? They've found you and it's perfect. The journey was easy. They didn't have to think too much, and their child's in class. Perfect. All right, so really think about the smooth journey. You do need to have a CRM in place. I'm assuming a lot of you probably already have a customer relations management system. We'll talk about different ones that are available a little bit later on. Having that in place, just, you can't really not have it in place. Just moves you into our century. You know, it needs to be there. We are a business. We need to run like a business, and the CRM is going to make life so much easier for you to track everything, not just leads and current students. Making sure you get your team pumped. Your admin and teaching, not just one. So if you're going to make the tool and it had a grid, and every time someone was responsible for a new student enrolling, they would get to tick off that new student number, you know, and they could see, okay, we've enrolled 20 students this month or whatever it might be. But, you know, it became a bit of fun. You know, each person had a different color, or they wrote their initials. Get them pumped. It's fun. It's if they're part of it, they're going to work harder. Make sure they know what's going on. They're part of your values, they're part of your culture, and they're part of wanting you to improve. No one's ever going to run the business like you are or love it as much as you, but you can get them up there helping and pumped by including them, really. Okay, so summing up, attraction. We've got to be clear on our target market, our avatar, okay, and the overall avatar as well as individual programs. So you can break those up however you need to. Could be by age, could be by style, but you can work out what works for your studio. You need to be clear on your branding and what your studio culture is. So that's got to be really, really clear before you do any marketing, because that's what you want to market. You do competitor analysis and your SWOT, so you understand what's going on. Find your unique selling proposition, what's different about you and how you're going to market that. Make sure your goals are SMART goals. Make sure they're very easy for you to achieve. Your customer journey is easy, so the customer doesn't look anywhere else, they stay with you. Have your CRM so that you can track your leads, as well as a lot of other things it's going to help you with, and get your team, totally get your team involved in everything. All right, make them your cheerleaders as well. Okay, attraction done. Woohoo! All right, so we're still in the same sort of area, but this time we're talking about the retention side of it. All righty, so it's 5 times. Now, I've said 5 because that was the minimum, but it can go up to 25 depending on what industry, and I couldn't find totally relative to dance, but I guess it's probably relative to each studio in your area, whether you're in a growth zone or not. But it can be up to 25 times more expensive to gain a new student than it is to retain one that you already have. So you need to look after your current families, but you also need to make them cheerleaders for you. So don't forget them once they've got in the door. Don't forget about them. You know, once they're in the door, that's okay. Just keep loving on them. All right. So think of your favorite family at your studio and just imagine a studio full of them. Yeah, like imagine the whole studio is full of those wonderful families that help out, never complain, do everything you ask, read every notice, imagine that family and imagine a whole studio of them. Well, they probably know other people that are like them. So use them, get them to bring in friends, do all of that sort of stuff, show them the love, you know, make sure you're connecting with them. I think the biggest problem I've spoken to when people have left a dance studio and moved to another one, it's usually lack of communication, and surprisingly not usually lack of dance expertise. Most of them, it's just lack of communication. It's lack of knowing when they had to be where or what makeup they had to have. So make sure you're connecting with them in all sorts of ways. Make sure they know what's going on. Make sure you have that private Facebook group. Make sure you have special events that are outside of just the dance. So maybe the sleepovers and the special, you know, crazy hair days, have those things because it makes them feel special. And little gifts, sometimes you might want to give them, we used to give little cards, and the cards were also used as a promo because on them they'd say, we would love you to move into this extra class because you're ready now. So telling them that they need to move into that, and it was written by, you know, the teacher or the assistant teacher, so it felt lovely. And little gifts, sometimes you might, you know, give them like a little badge or something that's not going to cost you hardly anything, but it just makes them feel really special. Make sure there is that progression plan. Make sure that you are saying to them, you know, oh, it's going to be great because next year, start that early. You know, next year you'll move into juniors and you're going to get to do this, and you might even be able to add ballet. And so have a progression plan for every student. You know, some kids might be, I'd like you to go into elite training, or I'd like you to go into exams, but have a progression plan for each student. And if you can, definitely write it on a little card and give it to them, because they're already thinking about the next year then, like it's already seeded. So keep that happening all the time, making sure you're seeding the fact that they're moving up a level. Know where your drop-off points are and educate parents. So this one's quite important. You would know that majority of studios, that's probably not everyone, are going to have drop-offs going from that preschool class when they go to prep. You're probably going to have a drop from primary to secondary, potentially secondary into the high school certificate, and then after high school we'll probably have. So they're probably the obvious drop-off points. So what I mean by educating the parents is, you know, those are coming for every kid that's in those age groups. So start early saying, sending out blogs or newsletters, just mentioning things, even on your Facebook page, about how much of a benefit it is to dance while you're going to when you go into prep to keep the learning up, or how much it helps students when they go from primary to secondary because they're not losing their core group of friends. So they have the stability of dance, or, you know, it might be moving into year 10, 11, 12, how you could actually add VCE for us in Victoria, or high school dance to their school, to their curriculum. So they get a score from that, and dance becomes part of their education more so because they've always done it. So there's always going to be things you can educate the parents in. It might even be other things like, and this is a little bit off track, but it might even be how to do a good bun. Like, you can educate parents on everything. And it gives you ideas too of things to put out there on your website, which is going to improve your website's SEO. So that's also a good thing with educating the parents. So retention and customer service is more so to do with how your team are going to treat, I guess if you're teaching on your own, then yourself, but your team are going to be treating your clients, your families, your customers, whatever you'd like to call them. So always give more than you offer. So you might say, if you're bringing them in for an open day, you might give them a little gift bag. You know, it might just have like some colouring. It might have a little a card saying welcome. It might have a, you know, a 20-cent scrunchie that you bought on Alibaba. It might have some chalk. I don't know. It could be anything, but it's a little gift bag they weren't expecting. You know, it's always a great one is balloons, studio branded balloons, because they carry those things around the shopping centres. It's more advertising for you. Listen to your families, to your parents, to your students. Listen to all of them. Don't get offended. Don't take it to heart. Listen. If it's hurts, say, I'll get back to you. Don't be afraid to do that. But listen to what they've got to say and actually address the issues. Whether you agree with them or not is irrelevant. You can eventually say to them, actually, we're not going to change anything, but at least you've listened. Sometimes people just want to voice their opinion. Yeah, so just listen, communicate, make sure it's communicating always. If they've had a complaint, make sure you communicate back what the process was, what you decided. Just make sure they know what's happening. Feedback is always great verbally, by talking to people, but also surveys. Your Google Forms are great for feedback. It's hard. I'm just going to give you a warning here if you haven't done it before, because you might think everybody's wonderful and everything's perfect in the studio, and you get those feedback forms and it like stabs you in the heart because it's not all perfect and people are upset about something you had no clue was happening. But guess what? They would have left if you hadn't done that survey and tried to fix it. Remember, it's not a personal thing. It's hard for us because we have those kids from babies right up, so we get emotionally attached, but it's a business and we have to remember that they still need to be treated like our client or our customer, because otherwise they're going to go somewhere else and they're probably not going to tell you why in the end, but the survey will help. Don't get complacent. Don't just think everything's okay, because sometimes it's not. You do need to know. All righty. Okay. So track it. Yeah, make sure you track everything. So make sure you know who leaves, and when they leave, send them an exit survey. Ask why they left. Some are not going to tell you. They're not going to bother, but some will, and some will tell you, and you might agree, you might not. It doesn't really matter. They've left, but you know what it does? It stops them from going and bitching and going and complaining to other people, oh, don't go there, because they've gone, oh, they actually cared. They noticed I left, they cared I left, and they asked me why. So they've got to have their voice. They've got to have their say. It might be something you can improve, or it might just be so that they don't go out with a bad feeling, because they might prefer the next good customer. All right. It's hard because emotionally you feel like, again, I didn't want them to leave, but you've got to remember what's the effect after they've gone. And yes, if you do get the information and you can use it for improvements, then do. Yeah, just make the improvements, because sometimes they're the ones who are going to tell you the truth because they're going anyway. Make sure all of your team are accountable for their classes. Make sure they're aware of their retention and make it part of their key performance indicators, and beat a certain percentage. You need to say to them, guys, this is, your class has 10 students. It needs to stay at 80%, so it can't drop under 8. You know, if it does, we need to talk about it, whatever, but have that talk with them. If they know, I mean, I know it's probably hard to initiate, but if they know that that's what's expected of them, they can work towards that. Like, it just gives them that benefit of actually knowing what's expected of them. So some classes obviously is going to be lower numbers than others, because you know, I'm assuming in a lot of schools, maybe your recreational jazz probably has more than your high level exam tab, for example. But that's okay. You can set the KPIs relative, but at least the team's accountable and they know, you know, give them the charts, let them see the numbers. Here's Viber points for retention. So it's 2 to 25 times cheaper to keep a current student than gain another one. Love on your current families, closed social groups, awards, events, all of that stuff that they're going to love. Have a progression plan for every student in place. Some of them will obviously be the same, but think it through. Know your drop-off points and educate well beforehand. Have customer service processes in place. Have your systems in place so that there's never any ugliness. It's always a smooth journey. Have your exit surveys or your surveys for current parents. Put your good big girl panties on and know that sometimes you're not going to want to hear this stuff, but guess what? That's how we're going to improve. Track everything, track your retention, and get your team involved. Whoa, okay, so that's the end of our retention. Woo, okay. Wow, that was a lot of talking. So I hope everyone's good with retention and they feel comfortable with that. So we're moving past marketing now, moving into our sales. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to type them in now, or at the end you can ask them and I can go over those. So I'll keep moving on now because, as I said, I just want to get it done so you're not here all day, get it out, get as many notes as possible. All right, so moving into our sales shuffle. So sometimes people feel like sales are uncomfortable. You don't want to feel salesy. So you kind of backtrack a little bit when you're talking to a new family and it's a bit awkward. But what you've got to remember, and keep saying this to yourself, is you're doing them a favor by actually making sure they come to you because you know you're the best studio in the area. So if they don't come to you and they go down the road, they're not going to get the best training. So you're actually doing them a disservice if you don't sell them your studio. So just remember, it is you're doing something good for them. Alrighty. So thinking of it that way, that you're doing them a favor, and present it like, well, this is what I can give you. You know, you can't get this somewhere else, rather than thinking of, I'm going to sell to them. All right. Just makes it a little bit easier for you. So it's actually your fault if they don't get good training. I don't know how that works, but yeah, it does. Okay. So paid advertising. Where does your avatar hang out? You need to know now. I'm guessing most people, it's going to be Facebook and Instagram. And I do have some stats on this a little bit later. Meta is expensive now and hard to target. There is a new thing we're just trialing at the moment called, I think it's Advantage Plus on Meta. And I might, when I get to the Facebook stuff later, I might mention that again. You can use your lead ads. Now, I don't do training on Facebook. That's not my forte. If you join our business program, obviously we have videos from professional Facebook advertisers that you can watch the training videos, which I watch more than once. Like I'll watch them several times. You can have things like signage on buildings, on the primary school, wherever. Obviously, flyers have gone a little bit out of date because of the littering situation. We used to be able to put them in places, but now, you know, they get dropped and stuff. But obviously, flyer drops you can do. There's still local publications, you know, local newsletters, the preschool. Sorry, people tripping over the preschool publications and stuff like that. So there's obviously a lot of other paid advertising you can do, but I'd say most of it's probably sitting on Facebook. Thinking about your budgeting when you're doing your sales. So firstly, work out your cost of customer acquisition. Okay. So how much does it cost you to get that student? And sometimes it's really scary how much it costs. It's, you know, at first you go, whoa. So for example, if you spend $5,000 on your Meta ads, your Facebook and Instagram ads, and you enroll 10 students, which is reasonable, it costs you $500 to get each one. It's a simple maths, yes? So you did your 5,000 divided by the 10 you got. Pardon me, is your 500. Pardon me, I'm just going to grab a sip of water because I think my throat's going. Might be a tip. Oh, it's not technical issues, it's throat issues. All righty. So your lifetime value, you can take photos of these screens too if you want to apply them to your studio. So work out how much a customer's worth over their lifetime. So the lifetime value of a customer. It means you're going to have to work out what an average customer stays for. Like here, I've just estimated that our average customer stays around about 2 years. So this is working on a 2-year cycle for a student. So for me, I've said, all right, this student does 2 years and usually about 2 hours of classes a week. So that's over the 2 years worth $2,000 to me. I make profit on, say, the uniforms, $300, and profit on costumes or concert, another couple of $100. So my lifetime value of an average customer is $2,500. Now, I know that's going to be hard to work out because some customers stay for, 5 minutes and other customers stay for 10 years. And, I had students that got their 20th, award at my studio. So I think we went past 20. I think we got to 25. But what I'm saying is it is hard to work out. So you just got to go for an average. So I think two hours and 2 years was probably a good average for me. So that's 2,500. So when I looked at that, an average student's worth 2,500. The cost to acquire the student was $500. So it left me $2,000 of the profit. Then I had to take out all the associated costs. You take out, you can take this out earlier. It's up to you where you take this out, but that would be like your teacher wages and any gifts or anything you bought. So then my total profit for that student was $1,500. Is that worth it? That's what you need to decide. How much are you prepared to budget to get in students, knowing that they're going to make you what they're going to make you? Just knowing your numbers, is going to be really important in your sales process. The lead magnet we did talk about a little bit before. I prefer free lead magnets, but it's totally up to you. I know some studio owners feel uncomfortable with it being free, but it's much easier to sell someone into a small, free or low cost event or thing than it is to sell, come and join me for 10 years. Okay, that's a much bigger commitment from them. So what's a nice small commitment? So that's why it would usually be, say, a free class or something like that, or a free event or whatever you're creating as your lead magnet. So getting them into that small event is going to be a lot easier. And once you've got them in the door, then your sales process, which remember, your sales process is not icky. Your sales process is great because you're giving them something. You're making them come to the best place and giving them the best studio experience. So it's not icky. So you can sell to them once they're in the door, much easier than trying to sell through a meta ad, Make that experience memorable. If you're giving them a free class or a free event, again, give them more than they expect. Remember the balloons or, I don't know, the colouring in or whatever it is you want to give them, make sure they get a little bit more so that when they go home, all they think about is how fun. I used to go a little bit overboard, and our event had jumping castles, sausage sizzles, fairy floss, popcorn. Like I just went over the top and made it like a carnival, and it worked. And it is hard to do that if you don't have a really big venue. Like our venue was big enough to pop a jumping castle in the middle and still run classes. And so, that was a little bit over the top, but it did work. We did get a lot of students through that lead magnet. Okay. Our next one is our autoresponders. These are absolutely necessary. And I noticed some of you, and it might be some on the call today, definitely have autoresponders when I first sent out these emails to you. Great. That's perfect. Having an autoresponder, no matter how simple, is really good to start with. Most of them were only, sorry, we're not here at the moment, blah, blah, blah. Yes, so an autoresponder is a computer program that automatically answers an email. So yes, that's a basic autoresponder. We're not in, we're on school holidays. But you know what? If I've made that inquiry and I don't follow it up, you've just lost me. I know you're on school holidays. You shouldn't have to answer on school holidays. You should have time off. But you lost me because you haven't put me on an inquiry sequence or something to that effect. So you need an inquiry sequence, which probably goes between, I would say, 5 to 7 emails. And that is just telling them about the studio. So glad you contacted us. Someone will be in touch with you within 24 hours. Here's a bit about the studio. The next one might be, oh, did you see this amazing thing that happened to one of our students? Or this is where we come from, a little bit about our history. They're short, they're simple, they're not annoying, but you know what? You're not losing that person. They're staying on your inquiry sequence, and you will have to contact them personally as well. Don't get me wrong, but this just keeps them remembering you're there. Yeah, not losing contact with you. You would swap them over to a welcome sequence. So that's nice and smooth once they enroll. If they don't enroll, then so your welcome sequence would have things about, how you want them to behave, what they've got to wear, all that sort of stuff. Your nurture sequence is if they don't enroll in that, say, 2-week period or whatever period you chose for your inquiries, then I would look at the nurture sequence as maybe a 12-month emails, maybe only once a month or something, just to keep tapping them on the shoulder going, I know you didn't join in January because you were probably busy, but it's now April. Do you want to join still? It could be anything, just little tips, little hints, whatever, but it's just reminding them that you haven't forgotten, you care about them enough to just tap them on the shoulder. That might go for 12 months and then you might go, okay, they're not interested, and you might leave them off. That would be a really good sales because the money's in the follow-up. Yeah, people need to be followed up. I think it's 7 times you need to have contact with them before they're usually going to buy. The other ones I've got a bit off track. So a new team member autoresponder helps you if then you don't have to worry about training the team member up. Promo sequences, obviously you might have events that happen every year. Once you've got a sequence, you just rinse and repeat it and pop it in every year, saves you some effort. And there's endless ideas of autoresponders, and you just keep them, revamp them a bit, chuck them out again. All right, so autoresponders are amazing. You need to have them. Other sales tips, there's the 7 touch points. So a customer needs to, a family need to have 7 times on average that they see you, hear about you, talk to you, get an email, whatever it might be, 7 touch points. And that is usually about when it's a purchase time for them. Like that's on average, obviously. Social proof everywhere. Make sure you have testimonials from families, videos of, kids saying how much fun they're having. Make sure you social proof so people know that you are doing what you say you're doing. The use of videos is obviously at the moment much more captivating than just photos, but certainly than text alone. Scripts are really important in your sales process. Not that you're going to read, like I don't want your staff to answer the phone and go, hello, yes, this is a really good, not talking script like that, but have an overall training for your team or yourself about what you're going to say each time. Because, sometimes, especially if you are on your own, a studio owner, you're in a bad mood running around something, you just, broken your vase and the phone rings and you answer the phone. If you've got to click into script mode, it's going to help you because you know what to say. It's already planned out pretty much, and you can snap into that mode if you need to. But for staff, continuity is going to make a huge difference because everyone's going to do it the same way. And track. Don't lose your person. Put them in. We put ours on a Trello card. This is what we contacted, and this is what they said. Then someone called them this day and they said they're coming in this day. They didn't turn up on this day. Best we give them another call, reschedule for this day. And your CRM will also, depending on what your CRM is, your customer relations management should have a tracking system for leads in there once they come into the studio. Like once they join the class, the free class. But they are all different. So I'll talk about those a little bit later, and it's a bit of research has to go into those if you don't have one. So coming up to the end of sales shuffle, let's just do a quick summary. So helping people make a decision which will ultimately benefit them. That's what sales is. So you're actually giving them something, so don't feel icky. Work out what your avatar wants and where you're going to find that avatar, who they are, what they want. Work out what your budget is, what you're prepared to spend to get how many students in the door, and then stick to your budget. Get a lead magnet and give them more than they expect. Make it a memorable experience. Be Disneyland. Have your autoresponders and emails set up. Have lots of them set up. Like just go crazy with autoresponders. 7 touch points. Don't forget. So yeah, remembering you might have to, they might say they're going to come, but then soccer took over and they couldn't get there that day. It's okay to remind them the next week. Yeah, okay, they missed it because of soccer. The next week they might be able to plan it better. So don't worry about. You do need to have more than 1 or 2 touch points. Don't be worried about having more than that. Get your testimonials from your current fans. Simple. Send out a Google form. Go into class video. It's pretty simple for you. You've got lots of people who like being in front of the camera, unlike a lot of other businesses. Get filming for your autoresponders. In your autoresponders, I usually like to put videos as well. Also for adverts, obviously videos are going to be better. Do scripts for consistency and continuity for you and or your team, and make sure you're tracking your leads so you know where they're up to. Wow, okay, sales done. All right, so sales needs systems. Everything needs systems. Just going to have a quick drink. Okie dokie. Hope we're all going all right. Has everybody else got their cups of teas, or it's a bit too early for wine? Otherwise, I'd say wine, but still only... It's way too early. Okay, so somewhere in the world, it's probably not. All right, syncopated systems. What are business systems? Okay, so back in the day, you probably used to hear the word policies and procedures. You know, there were those really nice leather-bound books that used to sit on the shelf, and somebody really smart wrote this amazing process on how we were going to do all these things, and they typed them and put them in a book, and they went on the shelf, and then they just got dustier and dustier and dustier. I mean, I used to have them. I think I bought them. I don't even know where they came from. But really, they're not doing anything. They're just gathering dust. But now systems are very different. Systems actually are something that you need to implement as many as possible. So now what can systems do for you? All right, so they can improve your efficiency. This is in every area of the studio. The systems in place, you can just call up a system to remember how to do anything, and everybody has access to that. So the consistency is there. So I can type in, it could be anything, you know, how do I type an invoice? I get the same answer as the girl next to me doing that. So the consistency across the board is we're doing it the same way. Time saving, I don't need to tell everybody all the time. New staff come in, I don't need to tell them everything. It's in the system. Yeah, so it's in our set of systems. It's also consistency and continuity across classes too, because, you know, we are not always in the studio at the same time as every trainer or as the office staff. Sometimes we're in and out because we're not working 9 to 5. It's not what we do. And well, some of the full-time schools might, but they're still there longer than that because you still got your costumes and all of those sort of things. So it helps across the board knowing what is the process to order those costumes. Everybody knows the same process because it's recorded in your system. Reduces stress. I don't know if anybody else gets to concert time and goes, I can't remember how to do that. Like I've done it 33 times and I actually can't remember how to, because I haven't done it for 12 months. Yeah, so having that system in there, mine are mostly videos, I can go, oh, that's right. Reduces stress, don't have to worry, I know it's somewhere in my system. Scalability, you're not going to get a lot bigger unless you are able to replicate things, make sure everything's done well and you can build on it, especially if you wanted to open more than one studio, which is hard in itself. But having your systems in place would be helpful with that. Improve communications with everyone, with the team, with the students, with the parents, because the systems are in place. The parents know we have an intranet, which is an internal internet. So an internal website, we had two. We had a team internal website and a parent internal website or student internal website. And it's free. It's just on, it's just in Google Sites. And I mean, you can still make it pretty and everything, but it doesn't have to be full on because it's not your sales website. But everybody knew where everything was. So we weren't handing out newsletters every year with the same information. We were saying, go into your internal website and type in concert, type in what does my class, it all came up, yeah? Takes a little bit to organize, but once it's there forever. And it improved all communication across the board. Enhanced student experience because, you know, trainers, we found, or teachers, we found what they were up to and we were all on the same page. Financial stability, of course, because it's going to help you improve your, you would have like a management system, but you'd also have like an accounting system. So it's going to improve all of that. Data management, much easier to find stuff, you know where everything is. New team onboarding, you don't have to tell them anything. You go, here's the link, look at that first. And then if you've got any questions, ask me. Staff empowerment, if staff have access to be able to use that Google site to add things themselves. I used to have team leaders for each group. So you would have the team leader of preschool. She can add to the preschool part of the intranet. So you can add to that so that all of the team have the same process to greet parents, to answer whatever questions the parent has, or where to direct them if they don't know. But there was a process that any team member could just quickly call up on their phone even. Professional images, but professional image, it does make you look more professional because you know what you're doing. Like there's no question. You always know what's coming. Everything has a system and helps you achieve goals 100% because you have a system to do so. So your new rule, if it has to be done more than once, make a system. Okay. I know that sounds weird, but if it has to be done more than once, make a system. And then you might want to just delegate it, because sometimes new things are not necessarily in your pay grade. They're like way below you. But if it has to be done, make a system. I prefer videos. You make the system and then somebody else can take it on board. You know, you never have to worry about it again, or you might be something you do need to worry about again. So just imagine, right? So totally relaxed, reading a book on an island in the middle of term because your studio is running perfectly with all of the systems you have in place. And that is me in the middle of the year. And then in my toes, my book, that's Tony Robbins, just in case you're wondering what I'm reading, sitting on an island in the Philippines in the middle of the year. Like, that would never have happened once. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to worry because the place just runs. What about attending every one of your son's soccer games, even if they're in the middle of your big dance class day? So my big class dance day was Saturday. And my eldest son did play soccer, and I did not see one of his games until he was like year 10, like 14 or something. So I didn't want to take Saturday off. I felt guilty. I felt like I had to be there. You know, I just didn't take any Saturdays off, and I ended up missing all of that time. My youngest ones, I see everything. I go to every hockey match now with the middle one, or, you know, whatever it is. But I can go now because I have the systems and I'm not scared to leave the place. And I wasn't even scared. It was more guilt. Working on your exit plan. If you have systems in place, your business is going to be worth a lot more. It's got a lot more value because you're actually selling something. You're actually selling the systems as well as the students and, you know, the class list and everything. Then you can live on the island, which would be pretty cool because it's a pretty nice island. But you see what I'm getting at. The systems are going to mean that you can step away a little bit if you want to. You don't have to, but it's going to be helpful if you want to step away at all. All righty. So how do you create these systems? Okay, it all sounds good in theory. How do you do it? So Zoom, I like Zoom because we all learned how to Zoom, didn't we, during lockdown? Some of my team use Loom. They like that. My phone's probably my biggest, getting on my phone. Google Docs, you can write them and you would store them all in your Google Drive and then link them to your Google Sites. They're all free. So none of that do you have to pay for. You could do all of that for free, but you just have to do it. Yeah. So you can record whatever it is you want to train them on. I'll just open up and I'll just say, this is a training on, record what the training is, sometimes share screen, sometimes just talk. And then you can get a program that will convert that to text if you wish to have it text as well. Then I save it in the area in the Google Drive, and one of my team puts it onto the Google site so everyone can access it by just typing. So much easier. It's not the only way. Don't get me wrong. You can have, there's paid ways you can do that too. That's just a free way, like free stuff. Okay, so some examples of how the systems might work and what you might want to create. Some of these will be in your CRM and you won't need to create them. So your class scheduling and registration, automate how your students enroll in classes and things like that would potentially be in your customer relations management program. I only have experience with Dance Studio Pro, with DSP, but obviously students could enroll while I was standing here and could have 10 enrollments. Like, students can enroll anywhere they want. The class is already there. It already tells them how much they're going to pay because I've put everything in. Don't have to worry about any of that. Curriculum development, making sure there's consistency across the styles and the levels and the ages and stuff like this. This would be a good one for your team to be able to add to an area and be able to say, okay, well, the junior jazz on Tuesday is doing this, the junior jazz on Thursday doing this, where are we up to? What are the steps we'd like to reach in term 1, 2, 3? Or, it might be it might be more costumes and stuff like that, but still you can develop the curriculum, they can develop whatever they need to so that there's continuity across the curriculum. If it was something, say, like Southern Fed or Shikedi or one of those, and you wanted to keep the theory notes and any anatomy, extra anatomy and stuff like that they needed to learn, you could pop that into the Google site and they could access it there. Could also do that with Google Classroom, which I can show you later. So that would be curriculum development, communication and customer service. This is just like so much easier. You don't do newsletters and emails that they don't read, because let's face it, they never got that email. No one ever gets that email. It's always your fault because you didn't send it to them, or I don't know. But there's always something. So this way you would just be always giving them the link You don't give them the information, always give them the link until they get used to going onto the internal website and just finding the information, just typing it in and finding it. As I said, it takes some setting up, but once it's there, it's there. Yeah, they can put anything in there. They're handling feedback. Feedback would probably be using your Google Forms to send out to get feedback, and then having some sort of system to then deal with them. Staff management, onboarding, training, all of that stuff, that's perfect for having your autoresponders, but also having that in your internal systems. So any questions they can type before they come and see you and annoy you. Attendance tracking would probably be in your CRM, so you probably wouldn't have to do that manually. Financial management, depending on what your CRM is. I had a separate accounting program, but that would probably do that for you, but still a system. Costume recitals and planning, depending, some programs, CRMs have that. Others, you would want a system to tell people, your costume coordinator, if you have one, how they're going to order costumes, to tell each teacher how much they can spend, or, what color their costume needs to be, or what their theme is, that sort of stuff. Marketing, promotion, of course, across your socials, keeping track of what you did before. Some of that stuff you can rinse and repeat. You might have a system. It might be simple because you might have everything in Canva and you just have in your system, see this link in Canva. Like, it could be simple, or it could be you want to keep everything in a spreadsheet and put that spreadsheet in your system so you can just call it up. Student progression and assessment. That's really important when you're looking at flight risks and stuff like that, making sure that in my class, I might say, oh, Brendan's a flight risk in my class, he's really unhappy. And another teacher might say, yeah, me too. So we know we need to deal with that. He might give up. Whereas if we did it in my class, he's not engaging. Someone else says, well, he is in mine. So, okay, what do we need to do? Is it the class? Is it the teacher? Or is it the style? What do we need to do? Let's talk to the parent or whatever. But, having that cross communication can sometimes be really helpful. And I want to take the student up. Do you think they're ready? All that sort of stuff as well. Management of the actual facility, protocols, safety measures, if all the first aid stuff could be popped up there, who wears the hat if there's an emergency, and where the first aid kit is, all of that stuff could be just in a system that's easy to access. Of course, event management. Events are one of those things where potentially we don't do them, there's that 12-month gap. So having the systems in place for that, so you can just kick them back in October, that will automatically, I need to kick back into this, or it might be you started in February, whatever, but you've got that system in place to know when you need to start working the events. Health and safety, again, it's your first aid procedures and stuff. Performances and show production. You could probably use systems like, I know some of the young ones use the systems with the choreography. I've got the link for you later. And they plan all of their spacing and stuff like that. That's another system you could put in place. The younger teachers especially kind of like that a lot of the time. But there's things that you might want to use. You can pop in there for rehearsing and stuff like that. Also knowing the timetabling for the shows, who needs to be where at what time, that can all be put in. Inventory, do we need to order more of our jackets? We run out of jackets, but we don't need any more tutus, like, whatever it is. And improvement and feedback system on that, which we've talked about being really important, even though it's not the most fun one. So once you systemize everything, so this is a system, it can be this simple. Honestly, I didn't know this was a thing until I was in my 50s, but apparently, and at the Melbourne event, like half the people put up their hand and said, yes, this is a thing that bothers me. So is it the beard or is it the mullet? So is it the beard or the mullet? Apparently the beard is right and the mullet is wrong, which I can see. But that's a system. And literally, if that bothers you, the toilet paper bothers you, you shouldn't be doing the toilet paper because you're the CEO. If the toilet paper bothers you, put that in a system and tell your cleaners, whoever's cleaning for you, this is what I want to see. Yeah, so it's that simple. It's not a big deal. Sounds like a big deal, and it's a little bit to set up. What's a bit to set up? But it can be that simple. All righty. Okay, we're getting towards the end of our first half now. So we're turning to technology. Now, this is for non-tech heads. Okay, so I'm not a tech head. I was born, I'm going to tell you, I was born 60s, like seriously. Sorry, it's a lot of talking. Yeah, so I was born in the 60s. I'm not a tech head, but I can use technology. It's not that hard. There are some really easy technology that you can use that once you get started on, you'll be like, oh, why didn't I do this earlier? Makes your life so much easier. So to start with, I'm pretty sure we all use stuff on Google Workspace. Be surprised if you don't use something on the Google Workspace, but I'm not sure if you know how much it can actually do. If you do, if you're a techie, you can switch off in this bit. Or you can just, look at something else. So obviously Google Drive, we potentially would be using to store everything. And this is all free unless you need to upgrade because of storage and stuff. This is costing you nothing, so it's perfect. Google Sheets is basically just your Excel spreadsheets. Google Forms is how you're going to collect information rather than trying to get people to respond to an email. You're going to send the form, they fill in the form and press submit, and it's done. They don't have to type it into an email and send it back to you. So Google Forms, your Google Docs, which is just Word, which I'm sure you're using, and your Google Sites is how you're going to set up a nice internal website for your studio. I'm sure we're all using Gmail, 100%. We're probably all using the Google Calendar as well. Google Classroom is one that some of you may not be using. This came to me during lockdown. I used it quite a lot. We use it all the time still now, again, free. And it is great for if you're teaching anything that has theory or you need to put anatomy up or anything like that. You can allocate a classroom for that class and you can put all of that stuff in. The kids can hand it in. You can give them due dates. It's really simple to use and most kids know how to use Google. So most kids will have Classroom easily accessible. We use it for our vet dance program and it's really simple. So if you want to look at something like that, would also be good for exams when there's extra theory and stuff like that you want to put up. All right, Trello. I did mention Trello earlier. I do love Trello. Again, another freebie. You do have paid plans, but I've never gone on a paid plan and I have like 1,000 boards. This was just an example of some old ones from my studio. And the grey one there, that was my office staff. So my office staff had like a templates one. They could just go on and copy any email that they needed to use for responses, like current ones. They had links, they had timetables, that, things that they would use a lot of. Passwords, all my passwords were listed there. Things I wanted to do in the start of the shift, and then personal ones, like this is Georgia's, just do this. So that was kind of how I would work it within the team. Once they're finished, it's just sticky notes. Like who doesn't love a sticky note? They're just sticky notes and they move, you can just drag and drop them and add more. They're just sticky notes. The other one I didn't manage, one of my team leaders managed. So on a Monday, she would call me and she would say, what's happening this week? And we would go, so we just had, like, it was 10 o'clock on a Monday, took us 15 minutes and I'd go, this is happening, now or in the next couple of weeks, I need the people to know. So she'd write that down and then she'd create these boards and each team member would have their name. They had to go to their actual card with their name and tick off that they'd read everything. As simple as that. It took a while. Like she did have to chase a lot of the team members. You can see there the green ones are done. You can see mine aren't done because I knew what was there, so I didn't have to tick my own off. But she would have to chase team members, yes, and she would have to have a talk to them about your boards aren't marked off. The reason for this sort of thing and for the systems was, and why we were so adamant about our boards, one of our best teachers, she was amazing. There was absolutely never made hardly any mistakes. She was just great. Was teaching a class and it happened to be around Father's Day. There had been a note go out that all the dads have been invited. So the dads have taken time off work because it was early class, like a 4 o'clock class. So there's heaps of dads in the corridor. We had a viewing window and all the dads are like, well, I'm here, what's going on? She didn't know that they'd been invited. So she had not invited them into class. Just didn't know. Could you imagine if we ended up sorting it because there was luckily another teacher saw it and sorted it out. But that's just a lack of communication. That teacher could have caused, those dads would have been furious, yelled at the mum, like it would have been horrible. We would have had to deal, the office staff, like it would have been a nightmare. So we were very, very, very particular about our communication and making sure that those situations never happened again. My favorite. I love ChatGPT. Use it all the time. Just love it. there's so many things you can do. I don't know, some of you have probably used it, and it's so much easier in person because people put their hands up if they've used it or not. You can tell Brendan's reading the chat, or I think we've got Ching and Brendan. And so if you've used it before, welcome to tell us if you've got any great ideas with it. I just use this for some really simple this time. I just put in, I'm a dance studio owner and I want to create 5 social posts that I can also turn into blogs and emails. Please give me the ideas. So it's written here, certainly. It's so polite. So, and yes, sometimes I do use please. People say why, but someone said to me once, and I've never gotten over it. He said, so when the machines rise up and take over the world, they're going to be nicer to me because I was polite to them. I'm like, yeah, fair call. So I do use my please and thank yous with ChatGPT. But yeah, your ideas would be, so they've got post idea is a dance tip of the week. And they say what the social post would look like, what the blog would look like, and what the email would say. Then another one, obviously it gave me all 5. Another one was spotlight on a dance instructor. Just gave some ideas. That's using it at a very basic level. I have created a voice, like a paragraph that says what my voice is. So I kept writing until I found, yes, I'm really happy with that. Because, you know, you can go in there and write as a cheerleader. You can write as Tony Robbins. You can write as, I don't know, like anyone, you know, Abraham Lincoln. You can write however you want. So it'll give you response in that voice. So I did some testing and found a voice that I liked. And I said, I love this. Please tell me what this voice is. Like, how could I give that back to you so you always write like this? And it told me what to tell it. So then I tell it right in this voice, and it gives my studio voice. So it actually gave me my voice, if that makes sense. And now I can write anything. So, you know, I've written curriculum on it. I've written letters. I've written email, like everything. It's unlimited once you get used to using it and using it properly. You do have to check it and you do have to adapt it. Don't just use it and cut and paste, but it's amazing. So you need to get onto it if you haven't yet. I'm pretty sure everyone's on Canva, so I'm not going to spend too much time on Canva because I'm pretty sure absolutely everyone's on Canva. If you're not, message us and we'll give you some information, but it can do the most amazing things, and it's getting new stuff all the time, just constantly getting new stuff in Canva, which is great. We do have a training on dance studio owners and Canva in our business program, and she was amazing. The lady who did the training back. And this one is, you know, I think you should be using your own images. If you want to get your studio brand, using your own images is great. But if you don't have that image that you need on that day, you know, sometimes both Pixabay and Unsplash are free photos, and they do have some good dance ones. You do have to search sometimes and change your search, but free images, and you don't have to pay for them, which is great. Place It is a little bit different. Place It, you can take your studio logo and pop it on a cup or pop it on a t-shirt or pop it on a pair of jeans or whatever. So then you can print that out and sell the merch, picture of the merch, like it's on a person running or whatever. Put it on the merch first and sell it that way rather than getting in samples and, you know, the expense of that. It doesn't help you with sizing, but it helps you with how it's going to look. And what else have we got here? So we talked about email marketing quite a bit. I did tell you how important I think your email marketing is, getting those scheduled posts out. Sorry, not scheduled posts, the emails out. These are 2. MailChimp does have a free version. I think it's limited to like, I don't know, 500 people or something. Active Campaign isn't free, but it's quite low cost, and they are limited in a different way. So they're quite different. I think if you're going to get one or the other, I would suggest Active Campaign's probably better. But a lot of people still use MailChimp. And I think MailChimp does link into Meta quite easily. So definitely, because you do want to get those scheduled emails out. These ones here are paid mostly. So Calendly is your calendar. So if you want to send out this is when I'm free. As a CEO, you don't want to just be free all the time. If people need to make appointments with you, teachers want to talk to you, make appointments, parents need to make appointments, you know, whatever it might be, you can send them your calendar link and they can just book in. It's actually really quite good. Choreo Maker and Choreo Room, I've never used those ones, but some of my students in VCE, Vet Dance, love those. And so I put them there just in case it helps space dancers and stuff. Descript is a great video program. And I don't like cutting video. So Descript, you can record the video and then you can cut by what you say. So you can cut by the actual text. So I can just go, oh, that was really dumb, I shouldn't have said that. And I can just go cut from there to there and cut my words out, or cut my ums, ahs out, or whatever it might be. So Descript is quite fun. That is paid. Zapier has a free version as well, but obviously limited. And Zapier, I'll talk to you about in a minute, can zap one program to another program. So you can read the list, and it can connect programs together. So it might connect your I don't know, your leads in Meta to your Excel spreadsheets, you know, or your Google Docs or Forms, whatever it is. But it can link those together, for example. So it just links different programs. Your customer relations management systems, these are the most common. I have not used all of them, and I cannot tell you about all of them. It's something you would need to research and see what suits your studio. I believe I use DSP, and I think you can do a Zapier link to an accounting program, because I didn't feel the accounting in there was usable. But so apparently one of the other ones, I think it might have been Studio Lab, does have an accounting system, and Dan's Biz doesn't. And so they're all different. But looking at those, look at what you need for your studio and have a search. But you definitely need to have customer relations management system. There are other ones like MindBody and stuff like that you can research as well. They're just the most common ones that I found, especially on our Facebook pages. You know, this question comes up every 5 minutes. They're probably the ones that most people suggest. So your accounting system, as I said, I needed it. So your accounting systems here that are common, MyOb, Xero, and QuickBooks. Zapier will probably link to some of those. That's, again, something you might want to look at, or you might not need it depending on what your CRM is. So, but obviously you need to have some sort of accounting system and an accountant, a good one. This is Techmatics. This is future, is going to be hopefully really good for the dance industry. She's currently Sarah, that's Sarah who created that. There, she's lovely. An Australian. She lives in Perth at the moment, and she created Techmatics because she's an online course creator. She was sick of paying, which I'm sure you all get, subscriptions for everything. It was constant. So she's tried to put them all into one. So it's just one monthly subscription where everything is put under there. We've given you our link there because she can do, you know, it's good if you can't go through us. She knows it, you know, it's through us, and it's good for us because we get like a deal with her. We put people into Techmatics, but at the moment she's still working on the specific dance related side. At the moment it does email marketing. So you don't need your MailChimps or any of those. It does your calendar appointments, so you don't need Calendly. It does social media scheduling, so you can schedule across a whole broad range of social media, not just Meta. It will host your website if you want it to, and course creation. So when you join our program, we have our courses hosted on there, so that all of the stuff that doesn't need to be in person, you can access on your course portal. So you can put any sort of courses up there, and they can be a broad range of courses for studios, for parents, whatever. At communities, like it has a community page where you can chat, and it also has a branded app you can use. She's working at the moment, we have discussed in the next 12 months, she's working on specific dance related things like, you know, your class manager and attendance and all of that stuff. So that's something she's working on, and hopefully within the next 12 months, this will be a one-stop shop where you have to have no other subscriptions, but we will keep you up to date with how that one's going with Techmatics. Lightning sites is what we currently use for our website. And again, we've given you a personal link here, and there's a bit of a deal for Lightning sites at the end, but amazing websites. They also have a branch called Dance Sites, which they've run for many, many years. So they actually totally understand our industry. So that is something, if you are going to get a new website, I would probably look into, and you want it like managed as well, like they'll do everything for you. I would look at Lightning sites. Guess what, guys? It's morning tea break. All right, let's have a little bit of a break. What time are we at now, Brendan? 10:43. So how about we come back at 11? Does that sound good? Yeah? All right, everyone, let's have a little break until 11 o'clock, and we shall see you back here then. All right, guys, I hope you've had a really good time. You really enjoyed it so far. Go get something to drink and come back, and something to munch on, and I'll speak to you soon. All right, guys. Thank you. Won't take us too long. and we'll fly through it again like we did with the other one. So let's get moving, shall we? All right, so I'll just get my clicker to come onto this screen. Might take a second. Okay, and we're on. All righty, and we have... Welcome back, everyone. Okay, and so during the break, we had a couple of questions about our business program. Who's our program for? Yes, we have a 12-month business program that incorporates all of the things we've talked about today. It's for current studio owners who would like to grow, systemize, monetize, and simply gain more control over their studio and their life, and, you know, create their perfect studio life. It could also be for those who want to start out, who are starting up and want to grow without some of those costly mistakes that come with trial and error, because there's really only the two ways, trial and error or getting a coach that can help you through. So why did I start the business program? It was 33 years of owning a studio. I had a lot of knowledge over that time. Obviously, that roller coaster we all go on as studio owners was quite full on. I had, 25 students. I had 500 students. I had a full-time studio, a part-time studio. There were so many things, that I'd learned, mistakes I'd made, and things that I did well. So these are all things that I wanted to pass on, because I'm not going to just close my studio down and leave the industry that supported me for my whole life, basically. So I wanted to give back. And this was the way that I could do it, with my qualifications in, training and business and dance. And it just seemed to make natural sense that I moved this way. I was quite distressed that the best studio owners, or, the people who have the best studios, best training, are not always the best, biggest, most profitable studios, because they're not necessarily the best at marketing. Well, that's not really all that fair. I was annoyed that studio owners don't take wages every week. We feel guilty about, we make sure everyone else is paid. Some still are not taking wages every week. And, that's just how we are, because we love what we do. And the passion takes over from the business sense, which is, again, not fair. We should be getting rewarded for what we do. And then there was a lack of respect that during COVID was shown to our industry as a whole. I found this really, really bothered me. I know that I used to have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder that, yes, I'm in a business program, a wider business program, but I'm just a dance studio, or I'm just a performing arts studio. It was ridiculous. And I thought, well, other people probably have these same chips on their shoulders. Are we causing people not to respect our industry just because we have these imposter syndromes and these issues, because we didn't start as business owners, we started as passionate dancers? So there's a lot of reasons, why I went the way I've gone. And, there's no regulation in Australia in our industry. Maybe other countries it's different. It'd be good to hear about New Zealand and the US and Canada, what they've got. But as far as Australia, we don't have any regulation. So how are we going to support and strengthen the industry? And I felt through being able to offer accredited training and being a registered training organisation, I could help. So that's a bit about the program and where it came from. I believe, and they can, studios can be making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. It's all possible. And that's profit. That's after you take your wages and everything. Like, it's definitely doable. It's the same as any other business. It just has to be done the right way. And this is what I think we just need to move into the modern era and start realizing that we can do this the same as any other business. I'm sure some studio owners are already. But I think the problem is the dance teacher ladder is, we've climbed the dance teacher ladder. We're amazing. As teachers, and we've got to the top of our game, and we're feeling really comfortable, and it might even be winning everything and having that I'm the best studio. But you can't then jump from being a great teacher and having great kids to having a great business. That ladder's too far. You can't jump over it, and it's a totally different skill set. So you've only got one choice, and that choice is to suck it up, put your big girl panties on, climb back down. And you need to be able to acknowledge that there's a new skill set you need to learn, which is hard when we're at the top of our game as teachers. So then you've got to start implementing change. You can do that on your own. You can do that with a coach, but you've got to start implementing the changes, moving across to the next ladder, and then start climbing back up the business ladder, and conquer that ladder as well, just using your, compound interest, one step at a time, climb up that ladder until you get to the top of the business ladder as well. That's when you're going to know that your studio has become your perfect place. You're the entrepreneur, you know, that word gets thrown around a lot, because it just breaks my heart when some of the best studios end up closing down because it gets too hard. Someone put on a Facebook page yesterday, I'm looking at selling my studio because it's just too hard. And everybody else was like, yeah, this is maybe how you can sell it. And I just went, maybe you could look at something else. Maybe you can look at systemizing it so that it's not so hard, because if it's just because it's hard, that's sad. You know, you can make it easier. It'll take time, but you can make it easier, you know. So you need to be, you know, making the money so you can have the most impact. And so let's try and help everybody get to that point where they are. So review of the morning so far. That's why the business course started in a nutshell. But so far we've done movement, mindset, marketing, makeover, which was retention and attraction. We've done our sales shuffle, syncopated systems, and turning to technology. So I hope you enjoyed those. So we only have 5 to go. So we have leadership leap, tapping into team, website walls, social media member, and financial funk. So just 5, won't take long. Let's hope. And we'll rush through those. We'll get, as I said, keep going fast. We'll rush through. You know, at the end, I will talk to you about our 12-month program. If you're interested, you can have a listen to that. It might not be right for you now, but it might be later. But it's worth having a listen anyway. And there's some cool deals at the end as well. So leadership leap. So you need to lead well, to know, you know, where you're going, and people will follow you if you are leading well. Everybody wants to follow people who know where they're going. You're not going to follow you if you don't know where you're going. So you need to take that on board. You need to be the leader. All right. You need to know where you're going. So make sure everyone in your studio is aligned with the studio culture. Now, we talked about this before. It becomes really important now as a leader as well, to make sure everyone's aligned with your purpose for your studio, with your vision, clear vision of where the studio is going. Make sure your vision is, you know, seeable, far enough to see, but not too far that it just becomes something you don't think about. So, you know, I like 5 years, but some people will go 3. So it's up to you how far that vision goes, but you need to have your vision, you need to have your mission, and you need to have your values. Just to break those down a little bit further. So your purpose is your why. So why do you exist? What is the problem you're solving? You know, specific, can be quite specific with that, not just general, by teaching people to dance. Okay, what else do you want to do? What else are you solving within your area, within your community? So really break that down. Your vision is your where. We talked about that, so you want to make sure you have a plan. Your mission is what you can do on a daily basis. What is the mission? This is what we're going to do as a team to get there, you know, the what. And then your studio values are how you're going to act each day to achieve that mission. So they're your 5 to 7 studio values. Remembering the 80-20 rule. This is not just business rule. This is a principle that states that roughly 80% of outcome come from 20% of causes. So the top 20% of tasks produce 80% of the income. So if you are focusing your time, your top 20% of your time, on revenue generating things or studio strengthening and improvement things, and that is going to produce a lot more. It's going to produce 80% of what happens in the studio. So remembering you need to really focus and knuckle down on being the CEO, principal, whatever you want to call yourself there, manager. Okay, so with your CEO time, so your old thinking would be stuff like, and this might not be you, but it'll be a lot of us. I need to be at the studio to talk to parents, to oversee classes, to do some paperwork, blah, blah, blah. If I'm not there, I'm feeling guilty. And that's, you know, well, oh, why should I send staff there and pay for someone to be there when really I could do it myself? That's the kind of thinking we need to get rid of. Okay, let that team member go in there, because your new thinking needs to be, I need to be away from the business of the studio so I can come up with revenue generating ideas. So I can think of things that are going to improve and pump the culture. You know, I can create a list of new systems that we're going to create and generate. So you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you need to change your thinking into a CEO and give yourself some time, because if you don't change anything, nothing changes. Yeah, you have to make those changes. So think about them, work out how you're going to implement them. It takes time. So you don't need to be teaching that extra class, talking to that Suki parent over there. They'll still be Suki tomorrow. Don't worry about it. I'm sure they'll send them a nice survey and they'll send you back some Sukiness. You don't have to be there all the time. All right. Use some of your time more wisely. So I'd like you to do the do, delegate, ditch. All righty. So do a brain dump. You need to do these regularly. They're so good. I don't know if any of you have or haven't done brain dumps, but it's so good. Just to put everything down on a piece of paper. And yes, paper and pen is better. I don't know why than typing, but paper and pen is so much better. Just put it down, write it out, get it out of your head, and have nothing. Like it's all on paper. You're not going to forget anything. You can't forget it because it's all on that piece of paper. All right. And then you need to make the decision. Do I do it myself? Because it has to be done by me. So it might be creating new class lists. Do I delegate? Now, a lot of things are going to be under your pay grade. So there's a lot of things you're going to be able to delegate. So you don't need to be changing that toilet paper and getting it the right way. Is it the mullet or I can't remember which one it was. But yeah, so delegate. Do you delegate it or do you ditch it? And by ditch, I mean, sometimes it doesn't really need to be done. Other times it'll be, look, I'm just going to ditch it for this 90-day period. Because as I said, I want you to do a 90-day plan, but ditch it for this 90-day period and put it over here. But you can come back to it at a later date because it's really not important in your vision and at the moment. Because remember, you don't want to get sidetracked by the shiny disco ball syndrome. You don't want to be doing, like I used to, ridiculous things like, oh, let's add Zumba because it was new and, it's not in my vision. So I just got sidetracked for 5 minutes doing that and spending a lot of money and time on it when really it didn't fit in the studio anyway. So don't get sidetracked. So some of those things just need to be ditched. If you don't want to ditch them totally, just put them aside for now. But work out what you're going to do, delegate and ditch. Then I think we might have moved my clicker over a little bit. I'll just get that moved over. Here it is. Got it back. There we go. So talking delegation. Look, I'm the delegation queen. I never had a problem once people said, yeah, here's the okay to delegate. I was like, yes, I love this. So you can't be a control freak. And I think a lot of studio owners have tended to be control freaks at times. So if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you need to go together. So you do need people to help you. And I'm not saying you have to immediately take on staff members if you don't have any, but there are ways that you can delegate things to other people, small things to start with or bigger, depending on where you're at your studio point at the moment. So I think the things to get over are, yes, you are going to do things faster and better and more efficiently, and you're going to be able to do everything better, but you should, it's your business, but you can't do everything. So it's not necessarily actually beneficial for you to do it, even though you can do it better and faster. All right. The staff teams are not necessarily going to care as much as you do, and so they shouldn't. It's not their business. But if you treat them well, we talked about this earlier about making them feel part of the team and giving them knowledge of what you expect, they're going to do an awfully good job. And most of them, if you've picked the team right, are going to want to make the business grow as well, because they want their job to grow, and they enjoy having lots of kids in their classes too. So making sure that you're keeping them on board, because done is better than not done. Yeah, done is better than perfect. It could be perfect if you do it yourself, but at least it's done, because you won't have time to do everything yourself. Okay, so delegation is super duper important. The level of delegation can change. We'll talk about that in a minute. All right. So these are your leadership lead action plans. So one is knowing your purpose, making sure that you have that vision for 2 to 5 years written, whatever suits you, and making sure that is what everything is leading towards. All right. So your mission statement, make sure it's a statement that everybody sees. This is where we're going. This is what we're doing. All right. The values, I didn't talk about writing your values, but when you're writing your values, how we did it was we asked all of our team to put down all of the words that they felt described the studio. We asked parents and students to do it as well, ones that we, were part of the studio for a little while. And we got all of these words, like so many of them. And we just sat down with the words and we just messed around with them, put them into sort of categories as such. And there was a lot of those. And in the end, sort of narrowed it down to, a specific set of values, which we then, we had cards printed, we put them on the wall, we developed them a little bit, like we use them in a lot of our marketing, internal marketing as well as external. They helped us write a lot of our scripts for advertising because we use those value words in there. So they were really important and helpful when you're writing text and stuff. So that was really important, creating those values in that way and letting people be part of it, because sometimes there's things you don't see. I then actually used all of the words that had come from all of the people, and I created like our logo, which was a dancer. I created the dancer with those words, did like a manifesto or a word art, and then we put it on t-shirts, and that was our school t-shirt for the year. And there was a boy one, the girl one. It was great. So, you know, those words came in handy for a lot of things. We use them for a lot of promos, and we got a lot of value out of doing that. Take your time out, your 20-80 rule. Remember, 20% of what you do is going to create 80% of the outcome. So make sure that 20% is going to be improving and value for the studio. New ideas, got to think about them, got to keep not thinking about working in the business, but on the business, and do your brain dumps and work out what you are going to do, delegate and delete. Very important to have that comfortable, that you're comfortable with that in your head. And these go together, obviously, because you're tapping into your team as a leader. So your team's your biggest asset, and you need to treat them that way. Okay, you need to remember, I've seen a lot of studio owners who put this wall up between them and their team. They don't want their team to know stuff. They hide things from the team. I don't know if it's because of our industry and the fear of losing students to teachers, which is a really common thing in our industry. Even when they're contracted quite well, which obviously should be in their contracts. Maybe it's that, but you can't have that wall up to get the best out of your team. Choosing the right people is hard because there's not necessarily the right people out there, so I get it. But we do need to really try and work on getting that right team and listening to what they have to say. A lot of times they'll have their ear to the ground more than you do. People might be scared to approach you and say things because you're the studio owner, the CEO, but they might approach your team because they find that they can get in their ear. And I'm sure you've had that happen before, especially younger teachers. And sharing your stuff takes nothing away from you. It makes you a better leader. So giving them, teaching your team as well, giving them more actually makes you a better leader and makes the whole studio culture better. And if they feel like you're invested in them, they'll care more about the outcome of the studio and of their classes and of everything. So yeah, they want to feel part of it, I think makes a huge difference. This is Sir Richard Branson said, a company's employees are its greatest asset. Now, I think he would know, let's face it, there's not that many people who've done quite as well as he has. And he's always stayed down with his team. He's very natural. He's, you want to make sure that you make the team part of it. Apple recently improved their employment retention by 28% with just 5 rules. So just 5 things. So all they did was they put in the 5 rules of unite employees around a strong vision and mission, which we've talked about. Don't undervalue any individual and stay in tune with employee sentiment. It's easy to forget about those people that are just nice and do their job. Don't forget about them. Keep them engaged. Keeping people informed. We've talked about how we're going to do that through our systems. Choose the right employees to begin with, which I know can be hard in our industry because they're just not out there at the moment. I'm hoping that, COVID, 2 years of COVID, being a lot of dancers sort of dropped off, especially in Melbourne, a lot of dancers dropped off that would have probably gone into teaching. So we probably have a little bit of a dip, but I'm hoping that's going to sort of level out. Let's fingers crossed. I'm not sure if everyone's having trouble finding teachers at the moment or if it's just sort of more COVID related people, but that would be interesting to do some research on that. And the other one is continually train and develop employees. I would suggest that you would not just, here's your class, off you go. Like, you've got to have team meetings, and in your team meetings, yes, you'll talk about concept prep and you'll talk about a class, but also give them some training. Maybe train them on retention strategies. Maybe give them training on, there's lots of things that you could potentially give your team training on. And I think that makes a really big difference. So we're just letting somebody in. So I've just got to get my clicker back. Sorry, when somebody leaves, sometimes I lose, and comes back in, I sometimes lose my clicker, but that's okay. All righty. All right, so sharing the load. Look, each studio's perfect pitch is different. So none of us actually want the same studio. So we're actually not as competitive as we've sort of always felt with each other, because we all want something different from our perfect studio. If you're the CEO, you need to decide if you can afford more people. Do you want to put on more team members? What can you afford to do? Sometimes it's a bit too expensive. So there are things you can do, like hiring out just like a specific task it might be. So Fiverr, Upwork, and Freelancer, they're 3 different websites that you can go on to, or apps. I think they have apps you can go on to, and you can get specific tasks done. So this might be just a one-off thing. You can pick up someone from between $5 an hour and $50 an hour. Like, it's a really broad range. You can see their work. That might be creating your program for your concert, for example. You might be able to just send it all across, and somebody on one of those, say Fiverr, will then send you a sample. You go, that's not good enough. They'll do it again, but it might cost you $5 an hour. So they're just things that you might be able to, and that's not going to cost you. And in fact, it's going to save you money, because you can then be working on something else that you need to do that's worth more than $5 an hour. So that might be a way to share the load and to sort of delegate and get started delegating. So looking at those websites could be really good for you. I have an offshore team. This is my team. They've all been putting up links and things for you the whole morning, and they are fantastic. Like, my offshore team, I couldn't live without them now. So we've got Marichelle, which is Ching. I'm not sure what she's on there as. Ching's a school teacher, so she totally understands the process of education and training. And she's my sort of personal VA, so she'll do a lot of personal stuff as well. And then she manages the team. So George and Maiko are both relatively new. George came in as an IT specialist, and he's specialized in my website and graphic design. So he's sort of done the branding, like all of these colors you see, the logos. George has done all of that. So it's wonderful. And then Maiko's come in after that, and he also does IT. And he specializes in graphic design, and he will work with George. So George will, pass Maiko he'll do the social posts and things like that. And, they'll work together. So it's awesome. Now, these 3 work full-time for me. Full-time, I think 40 hours a week. They work full-time. And yeah, as I said, I couldn't live without them. They do everything. Look, it takes a bit of training to get used to if you're going to have an offshore team. It will take you a little while to get used to the back and forward and to train them, because you've got to train them like any staff member. But they are maybe a third of the cost to have an offshore team working for you. So it is certainly something that I would look at. It is hard to have an offshore person working only 1 or 2 days a week. It is easier if you have them for a period of time, because they do need to learn your business the same as anybody else does. But certainly something that we can help you with, and something that I would definitely look at if you're interested. So this is a success story we have of one of my students. So Brendan and Aaron, they were married. Oh, goodness me. How long ago were you guys married? 5 years ago. So Brendan's here today. So Brendan and Aaron started off. Brendan was teaching dance for a local studio, and Aaron and Brendan both also have an interest in fitness. So they asked the studio owner at the time if they could run, some fitness classes at the studio. And of course, a bit of rent. So of course they're going to say yes. So off they went, and they were running a few classes, and these sort of developed, and they got a health program involved, and so it was growing, which was great. And then the studio closed down. So they've gone, what do we do now? So they went, that's it. We're going to do it. And moved out of their comfort zone, found themselves a factory, and did out the factory and just grew. They ended up going to first aid as well, and made it bigger and bigger. And obviously they needed help and support, because you can't do it all on your own. We've discussed that. So you can see here, that's their Australian team of trainers in the black. And then that's their Filipino team that supports them in the Philippines and does all of their admin and organizing of that stuff. And they've also grown again since then. They've got 7 in the Philippines now. So it's an amazing story. And I think people tend to have this feeling of, look, it's, I don't want to get someone in the Philippines because they're cheaper. Am I ripping them off? And that's not at all the case. You're given where the wages sit, and that's what works for them, a community. And we've found that you put on a Filipino, they help you build. You can afford another Australian. Another Filipino helps you build a bit more, another Australian. So it's a win-win situation, and we, Brendan and Aaron also started a charity for children in the Philippines. So we go over there every year and support the Filipino children and donate, you know, last year it was backpacks and supplies to the schools and stuff like that with the charity walk. Anybody's welcome to get involved with that. But, you know, we've all become a family with these guys. So it's been wonderful and certainly a win-win situation. And if anybody wants to talk to any of our VAs, you can type in the chat right now and they'll answer you. But it's been a fantastic experience for us. And I think we're going into our 3rd year of virtual assistants and like just would never go back. So it is something that you might want to think about. All right, so summing up our tapping into team. So basically, value your current team and actively think about retention. Don't just leave it on the back burner. Align your team with your studio values, your mission, and your vision. Give your team the knowledge and information they need to succeed. Don't hold back. Have your key performance indicators so that they're known and regular team connection and communication. Have a good hiring process. Get help when and where you need it. Hire a virtual assistant ASAP if you can, and build your team both locally and virtually. So no matter how hard we work and how much better you can do things than others, you can only build so far without a team. So it's something that is probably something you really need to think about. I think I did miss a slide back there. I just wanted to say with the KPIs and all of that, you do need to have KPIs in place so that they know what to do. You do need to have team meetings. So you need to make sure that, I'm just going to jump back to that slide. You do need to make sure that you have team meetings so that you can tell the team, one, what's going on, and maybe once a month is okay. Some people do every 2 months. I like once a month, but you can record them and put them in your internal website for the team. First half is about what's going on. Second half is some sort of training. Yes, I did pay the team for team meetings, but we did have a admin fee and a teaching fee. Trello boards, I showed you my Trello boards, making sure that communication's there. And we talked about building your team locally and virtually. Well, the other thing is you want to build a team like you might want a specialist accountant. You might want a specialist. I have a specialist in accredited training. You might have specialists in Australia as well. My accounts person at the moment is in Australia. She just every couple of weeks, she'll do my accounts. And then obviously my virtual team do, but you can split that up how you want and what you're used to. So I did miss a slide. I thought I did before. Okay, so that was that. Let's just jump now through those and move on to website walls. Now, I'm not a website designer. I have my gorgeous boys. So I have George and Maiko who do my website stuff, as well as they work with lightning sites. So I don't do any website. I am in charge of making sure the website is our online studio or our online sales site. So it needs to reflect, the website has to reflect your branding, your values, your cultures, and it needs to have a similar feeling when you open the website as to when you would walk in the studio. So it's hard to get that across, but it's what we need to try and do so that people know what to expect when they walk through your doors. So I'm just going to grab a water. You have 3 seconds. So this, ready? That's how long you have. If you haven't captured your audience in that 3 seconds, they're off. If you haven't captured them, they're off to the next website. So that's not very long, quite clearly. So you've got to make sure your branding is eye-catching, something that people are going to like. Might be a good one-liner. You might have a good tagline, like just do it. It might be that you have lots of images that's relevant to your brand, but are really eye-catching as well, or videos or something like that. But 3 seconds is it. That's all you've got. So if you confuse, you lose. So you need to check your website journey for each avatar. We did talk about it at the start, but each avatar from each program will have a different focus when they go onto that website. So you need to jump on as that preschool parent and go, is this easy? Do I know where to go? Or is it too hard? I'm just going to go somewhere else. Okay. So make sure you check the journey. And if it gets too hard, they're just going to try somewhere else. So you might be the best studio in the area, but if your website's not showing that it's easy to get to see that, they don't need to stay there. Especially like, I know my husband, I've heard him a zillion times go, oh, this is stupid, I'm just going to go into another one. Like they're not going to, some people are just not going to persist. Unless they already know you and they appreciate you, they're not going to persist. They're just going to jump down the road to a studio that might not be as good, but hey, their website's easy to it's really functional, easy to use. You know, so it's something you want to think about. Make sure you have lots of calls to action. People don't actually know what you want them to do necessarily. Sometimes it's obvious, but have them everywhere on the page, like more than once, but just make sure you have call to actions, because what do you want them to do? Do you want them to book a class? Do you want them to book a call? Do you want them just to go on a list? You're going to send them another email? Oh, I don't know. Make sure there's a call to action saying, do this now. Remember, make the journey easy, quick, and they've gone click, click, click. It's easy. Ooh, and I've already got my autoresponder, so I know they've got my message. I don't have to look any further. Shut down. Don't go into any other studios. That's what we want. Okay, so make sure they know what you want them to do. Search engine optimization is painful. I'm going to say it, it's painful. So what is it? It's the process of maximizing the number of visitors to a particular website to ensure that the website appears high on the list of results returned by the search engine. So we type in, you know, Dance Studios Tullamarine, you want to come up first. Or Dance Studio Near Me, you want to come up first. You know what I'm saying, right? So this is something that most people would outsource, but understanding the basics of it just gives you a bit of a help. Oh, down the bottom, I just put the blogs improve your SEO. So don't forget ChatGPT can write those in 2 seconds. Can write you 10 in 15 minutes, less. Yeah, so it's something that you might want to outsource. Now, I had a friend, actually at the Melbourne event, one of the ladies studio owners came and said she was about to pour, I think it was $10,000. She said $10,000 into SEO for the year, was that a year or not sure? No, she was about to sign a contract for $10,000 for SEO, like, because she'd noticed her studio dropping when they typed it in, it was dropping in the rankings. Wow, $10,000. You could hire a staff member in the Philippines to do that for you, as well as a whole heap of other things for like nowhere near that amount of money. It was a crazy amount of money. Or, which also you might want to look into, our website host, they offer SEO and at a fraction of that cost as well. So that might be another thing, because I know Lightning sites definitely offer SEO. So, you know, there's other ways that you can look at this, but it is very expensive if you want to get it done in Australia, but you do need to do it. I mean, coming up high in a search is really important. So constantly check where you're coming up when they're searching, and searching different things for you and getting onto that is probably a good idea. This is where these guys do our SEO for us. Our website comes, we have 2 websites. We have a sales website, which would be what you've probably got, and we have a membership website. So you would probably not have a membership, but you might have your free one that you do yourself underneath that. But remembering your website is your sales site, because that's what you want to do. It's to draw people into your studio and to get numbers up. So don't think of it as anything for the current students, really. And that's why having the internal website's great, the Google site, because this is all just about attracting people to you. Right? This is your online studio. We've just given you a link here for Lightning sites, and I'll show you a bit more about that later. But as I said, they run dance sites as well. So summing up your websites, does your website have the right feel? How is your customer journey for each avatar? So your hip hop teenager, your preschool mum, your elite ballet student, your casual tap dancer, but each will have a different journey and a different want. So make sure you've researched all of those. 3 seconds, have you got their attention? And is your information clean, easy to read? Do they know what you want them to do? Is the call to action clear? Is your SEO, like, are you coming up really well when they search for you? All of those things. Okay. All right. So that's our website. Well, we're getting there. So how's everyone doing? Checking is still okay. Still ready to go on, because we've only got 2 to go. We're getting there. Yay. All right. Our last 2. So social media. This is a hard one. I think most of our people, excuse me, are going to be on Facebook and Instagram, Meta users. TikTok and YouTube, probably more for the kids. I'm sorry, my throat does get a bit dry. All right, so this is the data, which I found super duper interesting. So I'm just going to quickly read the data to you. So 85% of online leads come from either Google or Facebook, right? So there's around 25 million people in Australia. 17 million have Facebook. That's 80% of the Australian population. The US population sits at about 335.7 million, crazy amount, and an estimated 239 million have Facebook accounts. So that's 71.43% of the population. New Zealand Facebook dominated at 81% of the population each month, and Canada had 78% of their population. So while those kids are saying to me all the time, oh, Facebook's for grandmas, I'm getting that all the time. No, I don't have Facebook. Well, this just proves that most people do have Facebook. So I think, while, you know, Instagram certainly, which is attached to Facebook anyway, and certainly TikTok and YouTube and all those are just popular, I think you can't really bypass good old Meta, even though they're charging us a fortune. So I know Facebook, really, you're not getting much from it anymore unless you're paying, which is sad, but you know, you've got your groups, so you're cultivating your current audience. You can cultivate having a good Facebook and Insta account set up, reflecting your branding and your culture, so people can look at that. I mean, I know if I get a new studio inquiry, the first thing I do is go to their Facebook page, look at their Facebook page, and then click on their link to their website. So I actually go via Facebook to get to their website. Because obviously when someone joins our studio, joins our business program, we research their studio and see where we can help. So, but yeah, I go Facebook first. And that's just, I didn't even realize I was doing it until I was reading all this information about how popular it is still. So, you know, making sure you have, use it as a cultivation thing for your current audience, and have lots of groups, and, you know, get the parents involved in the socializing aspect as well to help create the culture. And you do have to post regularly. I will check out, if I'm going somewhere, I'll check out their Facebook page and go, oh yeah, they're obviously still around, they're still posting everything, oh that's really cute, whatever it might be, but you've got to be posting regularly. So talking about posting regularly, we're going to schedule, we'll batch our posts. So we'll sit down for a day, you'll sit down and you'll batch all of your posts that are going to go out, so that they're all, you know, themed. You can make, you know, the content. So say Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is scheduled posts. So you're going to give them themes, and they'll go out every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, no matter what. Yeah. And that's just going to happen every week. So you'll probably get them like, okay, so say Monday might be Motivational Monday, Tip Tuesday, Wacky Wednesday, whatever your theme is, but giving yourself a theme just makes it really easy to batch those ones that are going to go out every week, no matter what. Depending on what you use for scheduling, so you'll need a tool, obviously, to schedule. So like Canva, Techmatics, I think you can schedule on Meta. You'll schedule at least 3 days a week, but you want to schedule in advance. So look, I have sat down and written 12 months at once, but I think that was a lot. I would suggest you do it every 3 months, just stay 3 months ahead. Worst case, even a month ahead, but always stay that ahead so that you're scheduling, and you can rinse and repeat the post. So once you get a 12 months worth of posts, the next 12 months, you just need to look at them and go, okay, well, that student left, so we don't want that in there anymore, but we'll put this one in instead. So it's just a cleaning, and then repost the same ones. And people say things like, oh, I don't want to do that because I've already put them up. But guess what? Majority of people aren't seeing them the first time anyway. And if that 1 or 2 people that saw them, they're probably just going to go, oh, I remember that post. Yeah. Nobody is going to go, oh, that's disgusting, you shouldn't have reposted. So just reuse them. Yeah, reuse them, rinse and repeat, fix them up a little bit, chuck them back on. Yeah, definitely. But do end up with a 12 months set once you've obviously have a good system, so you know what you've done before, and just have them all listed in your spreadsheet or wherever you're going to pop those. Okay, so that's your scheduled ones. You will still have to have your organic posts, of course. So having your what's happening right now, it's up to date. You know, it might be videos of kids dancing, it might be achievements, it might be an upcoming event, it might be comps, it might be exams, it might be at the fete down the road, whatever that might be. It might be lives from the kids in class having some fun. Get the teachers involved. The teacher might take over for the day, and that might be the, you know, the I don't know, the contemporary classes week to take over the, you know, the Instagram and the Facebook accounts. Yeah, make it a bit of fun. Let them take over. You don't have to give them your phone. You can just make them have access for that day. But yeah, I do those most days that you can chuck up organic posts. Yeah, don't worry if you've got scheduled ones, just forget about those, they're already done, and just chuck these up whenever you can, whenever something interesting comes up. Having TikTok and YouTube account is great. I would do it, it's fun, not hard to set up. You know, I don't think they're going to bring you many students, but they're really good to have. You know, the kids love doing some of the TikTok dances, let them get involved in that, even having a special day where you do TikTok. So I don't know, you can use it. YouTube's awesome for putting up like choreography or something that you want to put up there. You can make it private, you can make it shared, you can play around with that a little bit. I have some of my comp dances up there just because I didn't want to lose them. Like, it's been a long time. And I just didn't want to lose them. So we popped them up there and they're just sitting on YouTube. So if you want any of those, let me know and I'll send you a link. But yeah, I would have both of those as well, but focus on your meta. Facebook training is obviously Facebook's a specialty. So, and meta advertising is a specialty. I don't do training on that, but on our member site, we do have several training videos on Facebook and meta advertising. There is, and as I was saying before, there is a new thing on Meta, which we're trying at the moment, but it's using AI to actually get your audience. So I think you probably all found it's quite hard to set your audience because we're very localized. So sometimes it can be hard to get the right audience mix. This would allow the Facebook to choose your audience. So what happens if you use, I think it's called Advantage Plus or something to that effect. So if your text and copy says dance, singing, acting, 10 to 12-year-olds, these areas. So if your text and your image says that, then Facebook AI is going to read that and interpret that and try to send to that audience for you. It's so new, I don't really know how it's working yet. We haven't really got the stats back for it, but that's something that could be really handy for studio owners. It's definitely worth having a try and seeing how that goes. And that's like new, like in the last couple of weeks. Social media Mambo. So just to sum that up, start and grow your Facebook and Insta pages. Make sure they're looking branded and suit your studio. Use scheduled and organic posts mixed together so it doesn't get boring and stale. Set up your meta ads. Yeah, a bit of trial and error. Make sure you track them. Make sure you know how they're going. You know, if it's getting up to, you know, $3, $4, $5 a lead, you're probably going to be like, nah. Yeah, keeping it under that, obviously. Create your studio YouTube and TikTok accounts, and yeah, get the kids and the studio, the team involved as well. It's always fun. Okay, we're getting to the end, guys. We're getting to the end. If there's any questions, I think I saw a question come up. It's so small I couldn't read it. So the guys are keeping track of these, and we will talk about those at the end. So yeah. Finance funk. So that's me with my head asleep on the computer because I really am not all that excited about finances. And I'm not sure who that person is, but I'm sure there are people who are excited by finance. But it's got to be done. So we're addressing it because it has to be done. So yeah, while most of us find it a bit hard to motivate, we do have to know our figures. So might help just to do, okay, every first Friday of, you know, the month is going to be my, look at my figures, do it in the morning because, you know, you do it in the afternoon. By the time it gets to the afternoon, you can't be bothered, and just do it. It might be when you do wages. You know, I think sometimes when I do wages, it just helps me to do a quick flick once a week, do the quick flick on the wages week, and then have a day where I actually look at it properly once a month. Not that I love it, but I do. So you want to check your income, obviously your expenses, your profit and loss, and your balance sheet. Now, if you're not sure what exactly to look at, and you know, it might be your expenses and bringing them down, which is probably the most common. Talk to your accountant. You know, yeah, he's the dude doing that. Talk to your accountant because they actually like this stuff. And if you go and ask them a question about finance, they're like, yes, let me help you. So yeah, so just check out, and that's why we have an accountant, and make sure you get a good one that knows a bit about dance is always very helpful. Something that's not quite as boring that maybe you can do is just think about your class budgets. So how many students you need to have in each class to make it profitable? How much does it cost to run the class each week? So think about everything, not just the teacher wage, but, you know, you've got to have an admin person on, you've got to, you know, buy this, do that. So think of all your costs involved with that class. And if it's a new class, how much money are you going to allocate to it until it starts making money. So it's going to cost you money. Potentially, a lot of classes will cost you money at first until you build them. So how much are you going to allocate to that? So it's not just your advertising costs, which we talked about earlier, but also how much money you're going to allow for that class to build. And it might be different depending on the class and numbers and all of that, but something you want to make a budget for each class. Do you have systems in place if a class drops under the numbers that you need to make it profitable? Who's going to tell you that class has happened, or is it going to run all term and lose money and you have no idea because you're not there on Wednesdays? So yeah, there should be a system in place that will allocate a notification to you somehow if that drops under a certain number. But there's something you need to think about. I think mine, I had to have, I had 6 was my was my minimum in any one class. If it dropped under 6, the teacher would speak to me, and then we had a discussion about, the teacher and I had a discussion about whether this class was viable. Did they think it was going to build? What was the problem? And it was a discussion. It wasn't a, who's, you know, I'm blaming you, the class has dropped down. It was a, what do you think happened? Do we think it's worth advertising just for that class? Or should we combine? Like, you know, if you've got your team on board, they don't mind coming to you and discussing whether these classes are viable, because let's face it, it's about having the numbers on the floor. Same with event budgets. It's almost, you know, the same type of thing. You're looking at how much does the event cost? Are your ticket prices covering all of the costs? And can you up the perceived value so that you can make more profit? Like, thinking about when you're breaking it down, a lot of the times it might be that I want to pay for that and then buy a program, and can you include the program, the video, and all sorts of things like that, and work out so that you're actually making more profit, but it looks better for the parent. Can you telling your families what they're receiving and how valuable it is? I think that sometimes we don't remember to do. We forget to tell them how much we're giving them, and we know how much we're giving them, and we get upset when they don't appreciate it, but did we tell them? So make sure you are telling them what they're getting and how much they're getting, and make that perceived value higher. Inclusive fees is another way I think I found in my studio. It made a huge difference for me. It was a hard change, and any big change is a hard change. I know it's suggested that you might lose 5%, but I don't think we lost anyone over changing to inclusive fees. I had a lot of complaining, but I had a lot of good answers and a lot of good scripts and a lot of good systems in place to combat that. So firstly, are you charging enough for your classes? Because if they're looking at the class and comparing it down the road, you might have a better product, but they want it at that price. So having a pricing system that works inclusively can change all of that for you. You're going to tell your families how much they're receiving, and then work out a price which actually was a higher profit margin for me. So I've got, is this the next slide? Let me just check here. Please take a photo of this if you want. This is what I had in my package for my classes. So when they join, it included, so we're just getting the class, right? They were getting registration fee, which covers all their admin costs. They were getting insurance, music licensing, class tuition, costumes, 1 per class, end of year trophy, access to their parent portal, stage rehearsals if needed, access to music syllabus work for exams, music for classes through the parent portal for practicing, extra help in large classes by our assistant teachers, exciting variety of performance opportunities, end of year performance video, end of year breakout party, little surprise treats throughout the year, guarantee lots of fun. We did have to add afterwards non-inclusions, and they were things that we had no control over at times, which was the company or the elite costumes, because they were quite expensive and we only charged what they were worth. Exam fees, because we didn't know if the companies were putting their fees up or what level the kid would do that year. And we didn't include the ticket because we did that through TryBooking, another system that works really well through TryBooking. So, you know, we gave them a whole lot of stuff. This is everything that you're getting. So you're not just getting the class, that's just one of the dot points in there. Make sure you're telling them what they're getting. Yeah, make sure they appreciate what they're getting. And then go, and now we're going to do direct debit, and we're going to do 10 payments, not 12, so you're definitely not going to pay in December. Of course, you're not going to pay in January, but December, when the concert is, we're not going to make you pay. You know, you're coming to class for free in December. So they feel like they're getting something for free. Really, it's not. We just condense it into 10 payments. You can do this anyway. You can do, I know other schools have done 12 payments and have like subscription fees. And so there's a lot of different ways it can be done. But we went totally direct debit straight away. We didn't have any, oh, I feel bad. We just went, nope, that's it. Look, there was a fair few things about, oh, I don't want to give my bank details, or I don't want to give my credit card, or there's a few of those things. But obviously we just had to work through those. But it stopped the admin work that hours that my admin team got back was crazy, because people only let it bounce once and then they just go, oh, I don't want to get that $15 bounce fee, and it doesn't happen again. If it does, we just stop them dancing. It was just put in the rules straight away. We process monthly. You could do more. That would be up to you. And obviously we didn't do Christmas, which was good because it allowed them to have that extra money to spend at concert time. So all of the costumes being included was huge. That was probably the best thing. I found that when people left, which happens, we weren't happy about it, and we did send them an exit survey, but when people left, they never asked for anything back because there was no refund and they didn't know how much they paid towards costumes. Where earlier they had said, well, I've paid for a costume and I'm not going to do the concert, I want a refund, because they had itemized costume fees. Now they didn't have that, so it stopped all of that. I think the only one that became a little bit annoying is if they join in like June, they have to pay a certain fee to catch up the costume component and the performance component. But we said to them, don't pay the first week, make sure you're going to stay first, and then you can catch that up. And we direct debited it on the next month. So, I mean, there's ways around that. We had worked out that the costumes were actually paid for within the first 3 payments, or maybe in 2 payments, as well as classes. So we weren't losing anything at any point. So it was much better, much cleaner, and made a lot more money. Okay. So other things, upselling and other revenue streams, you've probably heard about this lots of times. Inviting kids to take more classes. Sometimes they just don't know that they can. I walked up to one of the parents and said, oh, are you going to do comps next year? And she went, oh, am I allowed? I'm like, oh, okay, well, as long as you're doing the ballet and the jazz tap, which you're doing now, of course you are, because, you know, oh, yeah, then definitely. Sometimes it takes a bit of invitation. You know, you need to invite them into the next class so they know they're welcome. As I said earlier, the little Christmas card things, or, you know, it's been a fantastic year cards, and get the assistant teacher or teacher to write on it, you know, next year, please do this, and add this, you know, always upsell. Bundling classes can work for a lot of studios. I know a lot of the preschool schools do, you know, their jazz tap and then they add on half-hour ballet, or add on, so it's an hour and a half. So you can kind of bundle it so it's a bit cheaper. That tends to work with a lot of the rec kids as well. Is there more things you can add, like more merchandise? Can you be selling stockings that, you know, they're going away for the concert, even if they're not the perfect color, but, you know, you're only paying $2 and you're selling them for 10. Stuff like that. Assistant teaching programs. You can now have assistant teaching programs that the kids pay you to become assistant teacher, which I think should always have been. You're teaching them so much, and teaching is a totally separate skill to dancing. So there are programs out there for assistant teaching, and you charge the student to join. We can help you with that. If you're interested, let us know. VCE for us, or vet dance. Other states have different programs, but moving into that higher school level, they can do it within their high school certificates. So that's also something that we do here. Selling dance shoes. I know a lot of schools have got their own little shops and doing really well with that. There's the birthday parties, the cheerleader parties, and the dance parties, and a lot of studios. I saw an Instagram post from one of my studios the other day, having these amazing, they got in a, you know, a princess, the mermaid one, Ariel, yeah, got her in and she was dancing around with the kids. It was just super gorgeous. And of course, another great way for the studio to make money. Okay. So you need great software and support. So do you have the right software? We did talk about your CRM, which you need to look at. Make sure you've got a great bookkeeper and a great accountant. It might be a virtual assistant doing your bookwork, because let's face it, it's fairly, once you know how to do it, you know how to do it. But definitely have an expert accountant on board and make sure you've got that support on the financial side. This is me and Brendan doing a course we did with Mike McCallowitz. Amazing dude. I don't know if anyone's using the Profit First system. We certainly are. It's definitely something you want to look at. We do have actually a summary book on our website. There's a couple of free things on our website. We've got some free email lists there. We've got the Profit First book summarized. There's a few things there, but it's a really great system. It you take percentages out. You have a few different accounts, and you take the percentage out for your profit, then you take percentage out for wages and take it out for rent, and you take all the things out first so you actually know what you've got sitting there to spend. So sometimes you look and go, oh, I can afford those acro mats, and then you put everything aside and go, wait, no, I can't have to wait another month for those acro mats. You know what I'm saying? It's a great system and it's not hard. It takes a little bit of setting up, but nothing difficult. But it's certainly, he has other books as well, but certainly read Profit First, or at least the summary on our website. It's a great system to implement. So just summing that up quickly. So make time to check your figures, do and maintain budgets for classes and events, review your pricing model. Are you giving too many discounts? That's something that a lot of us do. You don't have to be discounting fees. We did discount at after 2 hours, so moving to the third hour, because most kids on average were doing 2. So we did a 3rd hour discount, but you got to look at your discounts. Can you move to inclusive fees and increase profit? Upselling and bundling of classes. Can you move to direct debits to reduce chasing your fees? Should you move to monthly payments, and if so, how many? Show your value so families can appreciate what they get. That's in everything that you do. Make sure they see the value. What other revenue streams can you add? Do you have a good software and management system? Do you need to hire a bookkeeper, virtual or not, and an accountant? And have a look at Profit First and think about practicing Profit First. Wow. Okay. So that's the hard one. The finance one's always a hard one. So I'm sure there's some of you out there who love it, but yeah. All right. So next steps. What do I want to see you doing? And I think we've done really well for time. It's only 12 o'clock. So we've done flew through this. This took an extra hour, I think, when we did it in person, didn't it? I suppose it's because we stopped and answered questions during the live one, which it's a bit hard here because I've got a screen this big. I can't actually see the questions, but we can chat about those in a minute. So next steps, get implementing into your studio. Okay, it doesn't matter how many notes you wrote today. Absolutely makes no difference. If you don't implement them, nothing changes. It's great to have the knowledge, got to implement to change, okay? Surround yourself with like-minded business owners. Your best business owner might be in this room. Okay, we wrote that for the live event. Probably not in the room with you now if you're by yourself, although maybe you are your business bestie, but it's great to have someone around you who can help you and understands. And so whether that's a coach or it's just a person that you should be getting a coach 100%, but if it's just a little accountability group, that doesn't even have to be a dancer, just a dance studio owner. It has to be someone who understands that you want to achieve something, and you report into them and they held you accountable. So that doesn't have to be it, but it does help if they're in the same industry, because we are a very unusual industry. So if you're happy staying where you are right now, don't do anything, okay? But because there's 2 ways to succeed and move forward, and one's trial and error, which it works, it just takes forever, or one is to have a recipe that's already been tested, which is what you're going to get with a coach or a business program as such. So basically, if you want to make more money, have more impact, that's half my name, by the way, have more time for the things that you want to do, might be with sharing with family, going away, whatever that might be. This is what we have that we can help you with. So if you're at the right place and this is right for you, where there are other dance programs out there, and in fact, I've done the courses. There's DSOA, there's other courses around, and I've done some of those courses and they're great. We're just a little bit different. So I'm coming from the point of having a studio for 33 years, but also have combined with a business program that's been running for 15 years, and it's like one of Australia's best programs. And so our program's powered by Coach Blueprint. So not only do you get the dance side, but you're also getting the business support side as well. So basically you're getting 2 programs in one, and it's got the dance focus as well as business focus. So here we go. The team will drop this into the chat now. So this is the table of value, and I might just grab one of those. I probably don't need to. I can probably just do it without that. That's okay. So this is our 12-month course, and I'll just go through for you what's on our table of value. So before I go through, I just want you to know that we're going to do an offer for you today, and it's never going to be this good again. This is the offer that'll be at the end for today. So firstly, you get the personal fast start strategy session, which is where you'll sit down with one of your personal trainers, and they will go through everything with you personally, your own business, understand your business, where you're coming from, what you need to do. They'll give you some ideas to get started straight away, and tailor everything for you. We then move on. You've got access to a private training portal. Now, each week, you will be able to access new training on your portal, your personal portal. You'll be able to submit things back to us. We'll be able to submit them back to you. So it's a private portal that you'll have access to. You are welcome, if you do have virtual assistants or somebody else working with you as a team, you obviously can give them access. We have no problem with that at all, but all the training will be put up there weekly. So it goes over the 12 months. It's like 40 weeks of the year, similar to school. And we use the acronym START to get your journey to your perfect studio. So we have systems, team, attraction, retention, and trust, which is basically everything we've done, put into a full training package, not just let's talk about it. We actually do it and implement it. We're actually starting like next week with attraction, because for Australians, it's the best time of year to start with attraction now, so that it's ready to go over that Christmas period. That will last around 3 months. So it's 2 to 3 months for each of these units, and we complete each one after that time. And then, you can't join during that training. So if you want to join, you can join now, but then you won't be able to join until attraction is over. So we'd have limited amount of joining points. So yes, each is 2 to 3 months of the year. So entries are limited. We start in October with attraction, in preparation for moments over Christmas, which is what I just said. And so it's the best time for people on this side of the world to be joining. So each week, the lesson's placed in your training portal, and you complete it each week. Now you'll get multiple emails reminding you exactly what needs to be done, by what date, and it needs to finish by a certain date. The work has to be implemented, because then we get on a call and we go over it. All right. So we decided to do it this way because it's majority of self-paced. You can do it when you're not in class or not doing, school pickups or whatever, but you have to be on the calls once a month where you give us the information that you've completed. And we give you feedback, and that's where everything we make sure it's all implemented in those monthly virtual classroom training sessions. So we literally sit down for like an hour and a half and just sit there and have this training session where we go through everything. We make changes. Your peers give you ideas, it's all, but we expect it done by that time. So these go for 90 minutes. With your personal trainer, work through the topics, gain feedback, and just to maximize the benefit within the studio. We also have the 2x2 day business conferences. So these will be from speakers, might be myself or the other trainers, but also by external business experts. So it might be a Facebook person, or it might be a person from leadership, but not necessarily dance related specifically, but something we can apply to our own businesses. You get access to the members only website, which is where it comes in the Powered by Coach Blueprint. And it includes all of our DTO training. So we obviously record everything and put it up there so you're not missing anything. So everything gets put up on the website, and that's on the right at the front. Then you've got 1,000 how-to training videos. So it might be, how to set up LinkedIn. It might be how to, it could be different for everybody, how to create videos. So these videos are all up there. You also get access to 6 short courses. So one of them is how to run Facebook ads, just short courses like that. There's some on wealth management. It might be totally out of the dance area, but it's on, it's on you starting to become a business owner and what you need to think about as a business owner. So this already well and truly covers your investment. Obviously, that's a lot of stuff, but okay, we also have 10 online masterclasses And again, these will be by industry experts within their own industry that are relative to dance, but not always dancers. Bizversity is an app that you can watch all of the videos on, so you can keep it with you on your phone. You don't have to have it on your laptop or whatever. You've got 50 world-class print and audio book summaries. So sometimes we want to read some books and upskill, don't have the time. So we have we've had these summarized, and you can read a shorter version. I mean, you can always go and read the full version later on. Obviously, our clients' only Facebook group and community is invaluable. Everybody loves a good Facebook group. We've talked about that all day. So elite members also receive some extras. So that's our gold members and elite. And then also elite members get the elite dinners, which are something that we do around conference time. It's just a really high level. We just sit down and we have lots of discussions about what's going on and just meet with people that are like-minded. It's a fabulous event. And they also get the full government accreditation of the certificate for in business. So because we are an RTO, so we can deliver nationally recognised training, and that's the certificate you would be receiving once you complete the 12 months and hand in or show us all your work's been implemented. So there's no extra work. It's just showing us that you have implemented everything, and your trainer will go over that and check. And we can deliver this in any country. That's a question we get quite often. Because Australia has a national qualifications framework, it's easy for foreign countries to understand and recognise our training. That's why we get so many international students at our universities. So yes, it can be delivered anywhere in the world. You also have monthly accountability sessions that we set up with your peers so that you can talk to people that are in exactly the same situation as you and just keep you accountable. There's 200 done for you business systems, and these come in the form of these flowcharts, and you can just download these. And these ones are manage a podcast, start a business, create a marketing plan, and set up KPIs. So that last one, KPIs, is probably important because most of you probably don't have your KPIs. Although if you go onto our website, we do have free dance teacher KPIs on there you can download in the free gift area. You also get 6 laser coaching calls with your personal trainer. So this is when you're in a dire straits, something's not working, something's gone totally wrong, don't know where to go. You book in a call, you email us and book in that call, and then we link you up with your trainer's calendar, and you book in that call and you sit down with your trainer and just the two of you go through it. So it's not a group session, it's laser pointed on one specific topic that you'll talk to your trainer about. Woo, okay. Yeah, well, so that's what we're up to at the moment. So you probably all had time to open the document and have a look at that. So basically the investment, so the total value is nearly 70,000. So you can do a single payment of 1277 or 12 monthly payments of 1277. That's in Australian dollars, which is fantastic. So that would be gaining your Cert 4 and everything, which is a good deal. But today, get your pens out. We have also done a crazy deal for you, and we're going to get you to cross that out and just take 25% off that. Just make it cheaper. Just take 25% straight off the top. And that also applies, as the question we got on the last one, that does also apply to if you want to stay the 2nd and 3rd year and everything. You will always have 25% off forever, because it's a foundation class and we're trying to get the foundation members in together. We've made it forever. So not just for the 12 months, forever. You can have that 25% off. So it's pretty amazing. Plus, if you do need a new website, we're going to give you $500 off your new website. That's with Lightning Sites. So that could be a big bonus if you're looking at a website going, this might be a really good bonus for you. You just have to let us know and we will give you $500 off your website. And also for probably more relative for Australians, but we'll also give you 1 year free membership for any accredited training course you'd like with DTO. And that's valued at $1,200. So if you're looking at introducing, say, VC, vet dance, or down the line, we've got a couple of other courses coming in next year, dance teaching and management and assistant dance teaching. There's something we can look at, and you won't have to pay for that 12 months, the joining fee. So it'd just be the student fee. So that's quite a good value if you're looking at adding accredited training. And while we're gonna give you the form, so the guys are going to put in the Google form now. While we're putting the Google form in there's no risk today. So you just fill in the form to guarantee you've got the 25% discount. And then what will happen is we will process the form. In there, there's a link to the calendar, and we will speak to you first, because we don't take just anybody in this group. We're very much wanting the group to be cohesive, working together. So we will talk to you. We don't want to waste your money. We don't, we want to make sure that we can work really well together and that we can help you. So we won't take any money from anybody. We're just getting you to book in to guarantee you get the discounts and the extras, and we'll book in a call with you. So that's where we're up to. Is there any questions we had that we needed to answer? No, all pretty good. You're always welcome to email us anyway. We have no problem answering emails. There's always one. You've met the team, and you've also send any messages we can, emails we can get back to you, or send it via Facebook Messenger. That's fine too. So basically, your next steps would be to jump onto that Google form, and I'm sure they put it in the link there, and just fill in your details. So use the link to our calendar, book in a call, and let's see if we're a good fit to create your perfect studio. So that's really it, guys. Hope you enjoyed today. That's our contact details. So really, all I want to say to you is please implement. Regardless if you want to contact us and talk to us and go through with our first foundation group or not, is either way is fine. But you know what? Please implement. Take what you've learned today. You learned so much. You've got so many notes, I'm sure. Implement one thing at a time. Just keep stepping it up. Yeah, and that's all I'm asking. You're always welcome to email, message, messenger, whatever suits you, and we can always chat. Whether you're part of the program or not, happy to have a chat. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being part of it today. Really appreciated you being here, and here's to having an amazing studios. All right, bye, guys.